All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome in. Welcome in. The REMINGTOM pod is live. We got a fun one for you tonight. We've got a classic on deck. 20 years ago, was it 20 years ago today? Close enough. Our guy Singleton, R.I.P. the legend, dropped a classic that whatever, however you want to define classic, chat. Hey, yo, it gets the classic definition for tonight. We go back and rewatch it 20 years later. But we do have to start off with a little bit of college football because they did drop the poll. Again, I guess our timing is just off for everything right now. But within the past, I want to say 48 hours max. I guess here we'll find out when we pull up the 25. I guess it wouldn't technically be college football playoff quite yet. But, and I guess it's, hey, yo, we're lagging behind here. I guess it's technically 2026. Okay, we'll retry AP 2026. There we go. We don't even want to remember college football for, okay, yeah, we got to still clarify college football. We don't even want to remember college football from 2025 because, the ultimate result of that was not ultimately that cool. I mean, the Michigan-Ohio State game itself was. Like, would we switch the results of the game? I think, I mean, I can't speak for Michigan fans in general. I guess this is where we're starting, chat. Hey, yo, Ohio State. Thank goodness they're not number one. I mean, we got Texas and Penn State 1 and 2, Ohio State 3, Clemson 4. I guess, is this actually the AP poll? Because somebody at work told me today that Texas Ohio State was 1-2, which, I mean, close enough. We're not holding them accountable. I guess am I trusting them more than CBS at this point? I'm doubting CBS. Are you sure CBS that Penn State's number 2? But yeah, I guess that's what we got here. Hey, are we still good to go? We just had a flash. Did we still have the Wi-Fi going? Okay, I think we're good to go. Hey, yo, it's like the lights just flashed, and that probably mean the internet was like a quick second, but maybe the internet beam pointed down at us didn't quite get cut off. Who knows? But anyways, back to the list. Texas, Penn State, like I said, Georgia number 5. Notre Dame, Oregon, Alabama, LSU in Miami. Top 10. Oh, there we go. Arizona State. No Cam Scatterboo, but still, I guess, a number 11 team. And I guess we should go top 12 anyways. Illinois, number 12. So that would be the playoff. This is the playoff is 12 this year, right, chat? Hey, yo, they're moving it around. They're talking about 64-team bracket for college football. I don't know if they're going to do that necessarily, but they're definitely going to be adding more teams. So we'll just have to keep track of, see how far, how likely it is a team gets into the college football playoffs. But, the top, I would say, is not super surprising. I can't say we would know, like, locked in roster-wise what we got at this point. But, of course, I mean, even if you're not locked in on college football, you do know Arch Manning, sports world adjacent. We're pretty locked in there. So, I mean, he's up there for the Heisman voting. I don't know if he's necessarily the Heisman favorite, if there's like a skill guy or something that would be in the mix. I guess, speaking of Ohio State, of course, Jeremiah Smith, and there is that kid from South Carolina as well, too. I don't remember if he was, I think he was the class before Jeremiah Smith. I don't remember if he was the number 1 overall player or the number 1 overall receiver, kind of weapon athlete type guy, but he was supposed to be, an insane weapon athlete type guy. Defensive back. Is that Eamon Warry, or Eamon Warry is just that as well? I'm not sure. So I was like, is he in the NFL already? But I think he might be still in college as well, too. I guess we'll see if there's a South Carolina guy at the top of the Heisman odds for 2026. Yeah, Arch Manning, Klubnik, Nussmeier, Jeremiah Smith, Ty Simpson, the Alabama starter, got named the starter. Lenoris Sellers, so South Carolina quarterback, is not necessarily who I was thinking of initially, but that is true. They do have a potential hype guy there at quarterback. So I guess that's the initial part of the list. Carson Beck, Miami, Drew Aller, DJ Lagway at Florida, Julian Sayin, Ohio State. Isn't Sayin also a quarterback? I guess, is he the quarterback? I guess Jeremiah Smith was the highest Ohio State guy listed. So not a quarterback, receiver like we said. Sam Levitt, John Mater, Dante Moore. Our guy Dante Moore at Oregon. Shout out Jackson Arnold at Auburn. Gunnar Stockton at Georgia. Kevin Jennings, SMU. Austin Simmons, Ole Miss. TJ Carter, Notre Dame. Marcel Reed, Texas A&M. Ryan Williams, Alabama. Hey, yo, chat. That might be the. I wonder. Oh, I guess we got Ty Simpson at 16-1. I mean, I get the quarterback thing, but isn't that's more of a recent Alabama sort of trend is for them to have the actual NFL type statistical, I guess, Heisman type quarterbacks in that way. I guess, we could go back and look at a guy like McElroy's Heisman rankings. I'm sure all those type of guys got voted very successfully high. But again, the actual Tua, Mac Jones, stats guys getting drafted in the top, lottery area of the NFL draft. That's been the last handful of years. So I would say historically it would be more likely for if it's an Alabama player to win the Heisman for it to be a guy like Ryan Williams than Ty Simpson. I get the quarterback receiver thing is a little interesting as well too, but I mean, we just kind of saw a dynamic of it as well too with Colorado with Shador and Travis Hunter. And of course Hunter had the two-way thing as well too as a storyline / just makes him really a great player, but also to help benefit him in those type of award storylines. But if he would have been able to just focus on receiver and he's just going crazy. I mean, and he already was going crazy up near the best receiver in the league, or best receiver in college already nearly. I mean, yeah, again, it's just arguable. It's like, okay, is it McMillan week to week? Is it a guy like Ryan Williams or Smith? And again, in the draft class, he was actually the number one guy. And McMillan, I guess, was he the number 2? I'm trying to remember the order of the draft now as well, because McMillan did end up going pretty highly projected like he was initially supposed to. But Smith as well, like, that one makes sense. Jeremiah Smith, the highly talented skill guy, you can kind of see him carrying in a Marvin Harrison Jr. type way, but I don't know if he's got sort of the certainty that Harrison Jr. had at receiver there. So, or a quarterback. So that might be the one hope that Michigan fans actually have, is that maybe Ohio State's still a little question marky at quarterback as well too, with Sayan, because I guess we just haven't seen him, right? So I don't know if, make no mistake, we're not locked in on the Ohio State blogs. I mean, I don't know, would it be, if you hate Ohio State so much, you're obviously researching, you're like, we got to know every step of the way of what they're going on. But it's like, bro, I don't want to look up Ohio State news, and then my algorithm thinks maybe I do I have to type in I don't like Ohio State football, but I want to see their training camp? Does that have to be my Google search every time for the algorithm? Otherwise it's gonna think that maybe I'm a fan. So I can't let the algorithm see. That's our hatred for Ohio State. Sports hatred for Ohio State so intense that we can't even let our algorithm think that we might be a Ohio State fan. So we'll just risk having to scout him out when we watch the games, I guess. But he is more highly projected than like Jackson Arnold, Gunnar Stockton. So I don't know if that's just a situational thing as well too. And Ryan Day. I mean, shout out. If any of those guys were on Ohio State, that'd be the best spot. But our guy Bryce Underwood, 50-1. I mean, a true freshman would be a little crazy. I don't know. Has a true freshman quarterback ever won the Heisman? I mean, we can't count our guy out. If he's carrying Michigan past Ohio State again this year, it might be Heisman level type performances. And you do see him on the same tier as a guy like Miller Moss. So if year one Bryce Underwood was as good as Miller Moss, I'd be all in on that, chat. Hey, yo, that'd be great. Again, we balancing out sort of the true freshman overall expectations, because again, number one quarterback. I don't does he end up the number one player in the class? Who knows how these recruiting rankings end up. But at whatever point he was the number one player in the class, if he's still not, then that point of the rankings, it was right. The rest of the rankings were wrong. And obviously Miller Moss, kind of a crazy bowl game. I'm trying to remember if his season, really added up. I guess he did. So this will be his first transfer year. So, 2,500 yards, 18 touchdowns, and 9 picks. That'd be a pretty good year. And you imagine with, Michigan's hopeful defensive abilities, of course, that he would have more success, that they would have more success stopping the ball, that he would maybe be more set up for success with some production that still has some room to grow. But also maybe just the offensive line as well too, giving him some time. And I haven't seen all of the Underwood the Huddy highlights from our guy Underwood, but and they got Underwood over Raiola. Do I say his last name right? Ayo, the Mahomes guy, Dylan Raiola. So, shout out for getting that sort of comparison as well, too. I'm trying to, because we obviously reference the Kobe MJ comparison a lot here, but that is, Kobe's obviously one of the other 12 best basketball players of all time as well, too. Like, Dylan Raiola, still a little ways away from Mahomes just in terms of even, not just impact, but also, just the projectable type stuff as well, too. Chat, what's this trailer? Is this Lindsay Lohan and Jamie Lee Curtis in a movie? 2025? Is this an AI movie or is this real? Hey, yo. Oh, let's go, chat. We should have known. Obviously, Lindsay Lohan's back for the Freaky Friday stuff. The Freakier Friday. Hey, yo, it is what it is. I mean, that's still obviously exciting. It's still, I was like, who's, an original movie in 2025 with Jamie Lee, shout out. We're all in. I'd be there in the theater front row. But that does make a little bit more sense. So, shout out to the Freaky Friday fans out there. But Raiola, speaking of Freaky Friday, chat, hey, yo, Raiola and Mahomes, do we need to go to the chat GPT, cook up a little Freaky Friday Mahomes Raiola comedy? I guess I don't really know what that would, Mahomes just becomes like a D1, a Division I college quarterback that's, kind of a Heisman sleeper, and then Raiola becomes the best quarterback in the league. I feel like the discrepancy is not quite enough, obviously. If it's like the kids swap into the pro athlete body, and now the pro athlete's like, oh, he's got to, whatever way you want to, whatever narratives you want to have about those type of storylines, it's like, that type of discrepancy, I feel like lends itself for a little bit more comedic type stuff. But who knows? Maybe we're not doing that in 2025 as well. I mean, I guess we are in a way with Jamie Lee Curtis and Lindsay Lohan running back. So I don't, do we do like a crossover NBA with Lindsay Lohan and Jamie Lee Curtis? But that might be, a little too intense for Disney Plus at this point. I don't really know what we're, allowed to put on the streaming service. But it is good to see our guy having that kind of hype, Bryce Underwood, over the Nebraska quarterback as well, too. Because, again, he actually has shown some good production. So I don't know if there's just, like, some training camp stuff as well, too. But there's some good names that they are having him in the mix above over here. Nico, our guy Nico Antetokounmpo. I don't know if he's just an honorary Antetokounmpo. Now, anybody with a last name that we can't say is just an Antetokounmpo. But, our guy Antetokounmpo from UCLA, 120-1. Hey, yo, former number 2 player behind Arch Manning in the class. So we got Arch Manning at plus 750. Nico Antetokounmpo at plus 120-1. I don't know if there's value there, but we still have stock in our guy as well, too. So, again, this would be, there's no, like, odds for could he finish in the Heisman voting. Maybe there is player performance type stuff that we could potentially look up here. Oh, maybe not, chat. I guess if you can find some player performance stuff, then that would be, ways to navigate around than just this guy has to straight up win the Heisman for you to win money on a good season. I guess team overs as well, too. I guess I don't know. Again, Nebraska as a team, like if Raiola has a really good season, does that mean Nebraska is just a lock? Top 12 team? I guess should we just keep going through the top 25 and see where Nebraska's at? Hey, yo, chat. It is what it is. I don't know. I mean, I don't mind the idea of the kind of legacy schools, even if there is a little bit of a rivalry there. But I don't mind the idea of a legacy school having a sort of bounce back year if they've just had all of these years of just like, oh man, Nebraska, it's been tough seasons for these fans. Like, let's actually, of course, as much as you want, obviously, success for your own team, and, maybe you get petty against other teams as well, too. It's like, hey, at some point, you're like, as football fans, you guys need a couple of good seasons in there. So, obviously, we don't want Nebraska to be too good. Hey, yo. But it's like, hey, the Nebraska, because the Nebraska-Iowa rivalry is just like a straight-up rivalry. Michigan-Nebraska, I feel like that would be that's a little bit more, team kind of dependent, a little bit more on if those teams would be like competitive if there was like a run kind of going, because it's not like, oh, at this point Michigan versus Nebraska, obviously that is a part of it, but again, just in my lifetime, it's never been like a thing. And plus, they were not always a Big Ten school as well too, so there is that. Again, Iowa and Nebraska is the border state rivalry. They just can't get along. But Yeah, so if Raiola was good, that'd be fun. But also, ripping off the Mahomes thing's a little too much. Like if he was good, it would be better if he was good. If he would find a way to kind of stand out in his own a little bit more. And I guess I don't necessarily know how he would. I guess maybe is it just the look? Because of course Caleb Williams in college, he was running around doing a lot of the stuff. Where you're like, oh, there's Mahomes. We could pull out certain plays and be like, there's Mahomes comparisons here for sure. And he wasn't just like, well, I guess I'm just gonna copy the haircut and everything and just look identical to try to look as closely as I can to Pat Mahomes' style and everything. But so maybe if he just finds his own sort of style lane, I don't know, pick maybe even another. Like if he just starts, can he dress like Cam but then play like Pat Mahomes? I don't know what the mix of quarterbacks is, but it just say, pause. Too much Pat Mahomes for our guy Dylan Raiola. It is a little much. But Lagway at 20-1 is interesting, Chad. I guess we didn't mean to turn this into a Heisman preview, but Lagway is not bad. Aller at 18-1. If Penn State's really good, I guess you could see it, but I don't know, Chad. There is a little Hackenberg with our guy Aller. I think he has, definitely shown improvement. Carson Beck, Carson Beck, as much as that Georgia team is obviously stacked, like he was put in some tough situations and the problem was, he was more of a sort of erratic kind of swings type of guy where he would have halves where it would just be like, oh, Carson Beck, it's not looking great. And then just right out the next half, the toughness factor was there and he would still step up and produce. So that's the part that, again, is impressive. It's like he had the ability to kind of battle through tough performances. And it's just a generally, again, tough type of guy. But it is going to be tough to see him outside of that Georgia team. And again, maybe a guy like that can work in that type of team because that is just like a very gritty type team. Maybe it's going to be some lower scoring games. The defense, you're not necessarily going to have to try to make up. If Carson Beck is like 3 bad possessions in the first half and all of a sudden you have to try to make those up versus just one time. And then, not one mistake, but, versus the defense stops him twice and then, or whatever. But Sellers at 17-1 is obviously a good swing as well, too. He could have a pretty crazy stats here for sure. And, Nussmeier, Klubnik, I think they feel like pretty safe bets. And then you have Jeremiah Smith, I guess, is the top non-receiver or top non-quarterback in college football. And it's kind of not close as well, too. I guess I'm assuming Sam Levitt's a quarterback. Ayo. Kevin Jennings, I'm assuming a quarterback as well, too. Austin Smith, CJ Carr. Marcel Reed. Do we have to look up our guy Marcel Reed and double check what position this guy plays? Ayo. We got a skill guy here. Okay, quarterback. Is he Texas A&M? Last couple of years. So last year, 15 touchdowns, 6 picks. I guess 1,800 yards in 11 games. 543 rush yards, 7 touchdowns. So, pushing 25 touchdowns last year with the combined. But 35-1, I guess he might be like a training camp MVP as well, too. So you got Bryce Underwood in kind of the tier right under him. You got you got at least the quarterback tier right under him because you got Jeremiah Love and Ryan Williams as well, too. So it goes, hey, Jeremiah Smith at 12-1 and then Ryan Williams at 40-1. I just don't know if the degree of separation is that much. Maybe it really, again, Jeremiah Smith's an incredible guy, but the Heisman is, a little stats and narrative based. So I guess at the end of the day, while you could look at it and go, in the factor, the kind of on the field factor obviously matters as well too. You could look at it and go, Smith is obviously the receiver you'd rather have maybe, but Williams could definitely put up crazy stats. And he has the special team factor, I think, as well too. So if he has like 3 or 4, I guess I don't know what if he has like 2 kick return touchdowns this year, then add that to the resume as well. The little kind of Desmond Howard type thing. Hey, chat, it is what it is. Shout out our guy. But, it'll make it get the extra bit. Tim Brown. I don't know if Tim Brown had some special team stuff going on in his Heisman, but I think he might have mixed in there as well, too. So I guess to kind of set the stage for what the rest of the rankings might look like. And who is Notre Dame's quarterback as well, too? I guess that's CJ Carr because they did have Riley Leonard last year, who I think, definitely up and down as a passer. For sure, Colts fans, we might see a couple of those games this upcoming season. Look with the way the quarterback room's looking. Make no mistake, he will play. Riley Leonard's going to play this year. It's just what it is. But I guess there is room for improvement in a way in the passing game. And then if you running back sort of the same strength in the run game, that would be a pretty scary team. And obviously Freeman as well, too. Very trending upwards right now as a head coach. I mean, you can't write off our guy Kirby Smart as well, too. I mean, yeah, our guy, but the guy Kirby Smart, who is the 2-time champion right now in college. And Penn State has, I think, the double running backs still as well, too. So they're going to be a threat there with the quarterback as well. It is, different when you run back the team that feels like, it underachieved a little bit versus the team that does have that different kind of prowess where, again, when Georgia's running back a team, it's like, oh, this team was in the national title or this team just lost the national title Final Four, situation, whatever. It's like they were just right on the edge there and just didn't quite get through. And, Penn State was, here, let's double check and see where they got eliminated at last year. And, Ohio State, it is a sort of a college specific thing for the Michigan fans getting upset for us beating Ohio State, and for them not so I guess they did lose that Notre Dame game pretty close as well too. Boise State, SMU, Boise State's not like the most difficult path just in terms of the name value for sure. You got G&T there though, you can't disrespect G&T, but I think didn't Boise State have the bye, which I feel like they maybe made a rule change to correct some of that stuff in there as well too, because Arizona State I think also had a bye and it just got a little weird with some of the ranking stuff, but that might change up. So their path as well too might not necessarily look the same going into a championship run last year. And again, Notre Dame was right there in terms of winning the national title. So they were making that Ohio State game look interesting there for a second, for sure. So, and again, maybe the quarterback discrepancy was a little tough in that one, and that was just more so the talent versus the quarterback kind of discrepancy as well too. And Will Howard was really great in the playoffs for him. I mean, that can't be denied. I don't know if his season, compared to other quarterback seasons, but again, it resulted in a championship. So it is what it is. But yeah, it is obviously a little weird when they kind of have felt like they haven't quite maybe gotten to the level that they needed to over the last couple of years. Because I guess, again, it's getting 2 playoff wins versus opponents that you feel like you should get those playoff wins again. So while it's still an impressive season overall, it's still kind of that same walk-away thing that you do have with James Franklin Penn State teams at the end of those seasons where, again, it feels like those top-tier teams that they face up against, they just haven't quite necessarily gotten over the edge. So them at number 2, I mean, again, from the talent standpoint going into the season, I guess you can't necessarily deny it. But we'll see. I don't know if I would necessarily trust them more or less than, again, like Ohio State. And that's just, I guess, the fear that you have as a Michigan fan, a little bit of that team as well, too. Or, I guess, Texas is number 1. So they do have them respected there. The Klubnik Clemson thing is interesting because, again, he is kind of a hyped guy. And I feel like he has kind of had, like, I guess, up and down seasons. But it's been more, I feel like the first half of the season was, like, kind of a slower start and then got rolling a little bit as the season went along. So I don't know if we, this could definitely be the season where start to, the full season, he does have a great season for sure. Gunnar Stockton, as the Georgia quarterback, he has been there for a second. So at least you have the experience there. But I don't know. That could be interesting. I guess I don't remember Gunnar Stockton plays because he did play for a little bit for him. I don't remember him jumping off the page vividly, but I don't remember him necessarily being a liability like backup type guy as well too, where it felt like their offense like took a major step back. Again, it did feel like Carson Beck was a little bit more risky at times, but the higher end of what he could do as a passer was a little bit higher end. But still, maybe there is a little bit of a sort of a safeness with the the grittiness that you can play with Gunnar Stockton. I guess it would just be too if their defense is those same like insane levels that it's been at those last couple years. And they did get one first place vote, I guess, if that parentheses column is the first place votes category. So it was pretty close, and I guess just in points overall as well too, between Texas and Penn State. Those two teams being kind of viewed as the top teams overall, I guess, going into college football. But Oregon right there as well, and I guess the tier behind them. So you do have Nussmeier behind two kind of unproven quarterbacks, and same with Carr, and even Gunnar Stockton as well too. So I really like Nussmeier. I don't know if I would necessarily at this point be super excited. Here, let's go Tankathon and see like if he is like a top 10 draft pick at this point. And again, he does have sort of the toughness, I think, leadership kind of factors that he was, all of the intangibles you want as a quarterback that I guess were just, obviously the Colts of Anthony Richardson. So we're just overlooking all that stuff. But, yeah, I guess he's number 5 right now. And the Jets, see, that's a tough one. If he goes to either of those New York teams, you're like, oh, man, Nussmeier's just going to get buried. I guess, Jackson Dart looking like the franchise guy now for the Giants. I don't know if he would necessarily, need to go there. Drew Aller to the Colts chat. Hey, yo. And we passed on Lenore Sellers. Oh, chat, this future draft is already getting us upset. Ballard, what are you doing in the future? Hey, yo. Drew Aller. I mean, the problem is I see this playing out. I actually see this playing out. I mean, we got to give Ballard credit because, again, he did take Richardson over Will Levis. So, shout out. I mean, Will Levis is already been replaced. At least Richardson Richardson got one more year. At least that's the right pick between those two guys. But, Lenore Sellers, we're already chalking it up as a miss, passing on him, I guess. I don't even know quarterback with the 7th pick. It'd be kind of tough. It is what it is. Arch Manning might be the guy this year, Chad. Again, we'll just have to see. And the Arch Manning thing is kind of interesting, the preseason hype, because I think there is not necessarily a narrative that he's a lock to enter the NFL this year, but I don't, and I think a lot of that is do the evaluators think he's like totally ready or quite, I guess, maybe on the same level as some of the number 1 overall picks in the past. But I feel like from the way he's been approaching just the business of college football, and I don't want to say been okay with not playing, but also he has been sitting behind Quinn Ewers as well too, and he's been the highest paid NIL athlete, definitely in college football, maybe behind Shedeur there for a second, but he was making as much money as guys that were playing, and he's not playing. And his draft stock, again, if we were doing the 2026 NFL draft before the start of the season, he's the number 1 pick in the draft. It is what it is. The Saints are taking him, and they're just locking in his rights and just saying, okay, whatever happens this season, I guess we hope that he plays well and that he still has that same evaluation. I mean, that would be kind of a crazy type draft, and then somehow, the stink of the franchises that they get picked to would just transfer over onto their college season, I guess. So again, like Arch Manning gets on the Saints, it's like Texas now. All of a sudden, it's like it just feels like a New Orleans Saints type season. Arch Manning's just getting sacked every couple of plays. It's like, what is happening? This is a disastrous. Poor Sark's probably. We don't want to start speculating too much, but again, that's just the type of hype that he still has. You see that he has 900 passing yards in the year last year, and still looked obviously, showed some of the talent stuff, but didn't necessarily. And again, from the pro Arch Manning guy here, didn't necessarily play and have like a Tua-ish type effect. He was obviously, again, really good when he played. But I don't know if he was necessarily, again, with Quinn Ewers, it's not like undeniably you had to play Arch Manning over Quinn Ewers. They still went back to Quinn Ewers a couple times, even if they were respecting his status as well, too, as the upperclassman. And they're running a story right now on CBS Sports about, speaking of John Mater, hey, yo, just looking at his Heisman odds, he is apparently alleged, Chad, hey, yo, alleged on some sports gambling stuff. Apparently there's some Venmo payments and they're literally labeled sports gambling. So you know what, John Mater, it's a little, hey, yo, it's a little sketchy right there. I'm not going to lie. The evidence is definitely pointing in one direction. But we'll have to see. I don't know. I guess I didn't see which way those Venmo payments were going. I guess either way. But still, I mean, you ever heard of a emoji, John Mater? I mean, who does that? Hey, yo, who just labels the Venmo payment for exactly what it's not supposed to be labeled as? It's like, oh, Venmo payment, illegal. And I guess, sports gambling is the one thing. Somehow these NIL kids are just, it's like, okay, just right when, right when the NIL stuff gets out of the way, so it's not an issue anymore, and that stuff is all above table. It's like now FanDuel's been legalized everywhere. It's like, oh, now these kids are just going to get trapped in the FanDuel's cycle of things. And now the NCAA is like, we're going to have T-shirts like, let the kids bet on sports. They're humans too. But, I guess for him, maybe just mislabel the Venmo payment. I don't know, a couple of pizza slice emojis and just say, hey, thanks for the Domino's. And then, hey, it's a little double entendre right there. See, that might even be too sketchy. That's the type of thing where, subconsciously you're thinking too far. You got to kind of pause before you submit that Venmo payment and be like, wait a second. Maybe we space out and go like, Pizza Hut. Because if it's Domino's, they're like, oh, why are you thinking Domino's? Screenshots of past Venmo history surface. Hey, yo, so who leaked the screenshots? Okay, so wait. One says, yep, so paid to the quarterback, Ultra Sports Gambling, FIFA World Cup. Oh, chat. You gotta, and then John Mater paid it back to this guy, and then he also labeled it sports gambling. So they both they literally were just labeling it sports gambling and the individual events about what they were labeling it on. This says, quote, my previous Venmo description did not accurately portray the transactions in question, but were instead inside jokes between me and my friends. Oh, man, those are some risky jokes as an inside, as an NCAA athlete, as a guy with, what was it, like 30 to 20 to 1 Heisman odds? Again, the pizza emojis, mix it up, chat. Couple of laughing faces, maybe even just the pukey guy every once in a while, just to be funny. Maybe some different inside jokes. Can you attach an image to the sports, or I don't even know, to the sports gambling thing, to Venmo? I guess I've never tried that. We've never gone that far. Again, you literally just throw up a couple peace signs and then you're good to go. Like, you don't, I guess, unless he's really, maybe he's just a super organized, the budget's all locked in place. He's like, I got all my all my illegal Venmo payments just absolutely organized and labeled properly. So I guess, you got to give him, I don't know, as an NFL evaluator, what do you see? Do you see the a willingness to bend the rules, I guess, and put your job on the line to hit the FanDuel? Or do you see the organization and the cleanliness and the, if he's the quarterback, the playbook stuff? I don't know. Maybe that helps. Well, the offense is going to be just like, the plays are going to be all properly labeled and everything's just going to be so crystal clear. But either way, I don't know where we were off on the Arch Manning tangent there. But I guess they got the Colts at 7. I don't know. I was going to bring the Colts tangent around to the Colts need to get Arch Manning at this point. But again, he's the number 1 pick, so... I was with the summer hot take. Hey, yo, Arch Manning to the Colts. And plus, I did see this story that was floating around middle of July as well, too, but it just hit our algorithm as well. I don't know why, but it seems like Cowherd specifically, his post hit our algorithm like 3 weeks later. So it's like, wait a second, Cowherd's saying what? It's like, oh, this is the middle of July? But apparently there was a story of the Browns are really targeting Arch Manning. So again, everybody's probably targeting Arch Manning. But... apparently, or it was I guess Manning and Saban specifically. It was if they could get Arch Manning at quarterback, then maybe Saban would consider returning to head coach, especially in the NFL as well too. If he had a kind of a franchise potential type guy there in place, and maybe he would coach Cleveland if they had Arch Manning. So that would be obviously a crazy combo. It's a little whiff of Trevor Lawrence, Urban Meyer, again maybe a little more. Probably not all Urban Meyer, obviously, for Nick Saban, and probably not, hopefully, Trevor Lawrence for Arch Manning. But, again, maybe just like a whiff of that, where you walk by and you're like, wait, what was that? Did I smell Urban Meyer there? Oh, no, wait a second. That's and, hey, yo, Chief, if you're walking past something and smelling, we don't want to know what you're walking past either. Are you like at a random bar somewhere? What are you smelling? But, hey, yo, IT, cut that out. That's crazy. But, yeah, Arch Manning, anyways. I guess they got him 4th on the big board, but you still got him as QB1 on the draft in that type. But again, that kind of goes to that he's not necessarily that lock. Like, oh, at this point, like everyone's like, oh, generational talent, best player in the draft combined with the quarterback and all that different stuff. But again, I still think that you would take him number one just based on the ability. Not even at, well, I guess at this point, but I would assume so by the end of the season as well too. I guess maybe Sellers would be the watch list guy that we would have for raising up above him, because the thing is, in Nussmeier and all of these guys, as kind of a 2025 obviously QB thing, there is a athleticism that QBs kind of tend to have now, and Arch Manning is a mobile guy himself as well, but Sellers does, I think, provide that dynamic a little bit more, whereas Aller and Nussmeier, I feel like they would have to be purely out throwing Arch Manning, and again, maybe they are right now, but I don't know, high end, maybe what Arch Manning could do as a passer is a little bit more. But you see Nussmeier for the yards and stuff, and again, the LSU offense that he's been in the past couple years, like they always have weapons and stuff for him to make for just that team to make plays with as well too. Carnell Tate is the other Ohio State wide receiver. Goodness gracious, Jay. Hey, Julian Saint's not even gonna have to do anything. This man's just gonna just screen passes every time. Carnell Tate and Jeremiah Smith. I mean, is this just how time works, chat? It just the receiver rooms get better every year, because it seems like every time there's a post that surfaces of like, oh, this receiver room from 5 years ago at Ohio State, and it's like, well, wasn't the one before that supposed to be the generational one? It's like, no, this one actually is with Marvin Harrison Jr. and with all the other guys is actually the best one. It's like, well, what about this one with Carnell Tate and Jeremiah Smith, and I guess Jeremiah Smith as well too could carry a little bit, maybe in terms of the predictable stuff, and I guess not necessarily this draft class as well too. That'd be kind of split across draft classes, but same with Harrison, and I don't even remember again the lineage of all these Ohio State receivers. What is even the overlap for those guys? Obviously, him and Mbuka played together, and I guess Olave would have been one. And who else am I thinking of? Smith, JSN. So it probably would have been JSN, Olave, Marvin Harrison, and Mbuka, which again is just like, it's crazy. But can we see? I can't even look up Ohio State's depth chart. It is what it is. I guess I'll just have to look it up on a private tab on my phone, so it doesn't get, again, the algorithm doesn't pick it up. But then call the internet provider and be like, can you delete that Ohio State history out of there? But yeah, we'll find a way to, I guess, we'll call a friend and be like, can you look up the Ohio State receiver room for us and tell us what's going on? Or do we just keep scrolling through the draft and we'll find a couple other ones? I'm sure. It is what it is. Oh, maybe it's Kilgore, the South Carolina guy that we were talking about, Jalen Kilgore. I mean, safeties, we are always keeping our eye out on safeties as well, too. Again, Eman Wari as well. I don't know if South Carolina is necessarily turning into defensive back university, but there have been a couple of decent guys from there. And, again, that was kind of a talented duo last year. So, maybe we're just thinking about those guys playing together as well, too. But there is somebody that is was a crazy recruit. So I guess we could just go back and look up through the recruiting rankings as well. Desmond Williams Jr., Washington. Hayes King, Georgia Tech. Lincoln Keenholtz, Ohio State. This is like a defensive lineman. Or I doubt it's an offensive lineman. Not in the Heisman odds. Hey, yo. But I guess that was still above our guy, Iomala. Even Caleb Downs at 180-1. I guess, a defensive back winning the Heisman would have to have a crazy season, but that feels like crazy odds. And I guess I feel like the thing, and this is, I'm not as a degenerate, I guess, as a better as I think maybe I am. So if I was, full degenerate, I probably would know this. But I feel like with FanDuel, the line can, move around and you can sell if the line. So if you bet this Caleb Downs at 180-1, and then he continues to have an incredible season and his odds move up to like 20-1, I think you can cash out at 20-1 and still make, a little profit on your bet. So again, you're not necessarily hitting winning bet type stuff of saying, oh, I predicted Caleb Downs at 180-1 to win the Heisman. But I guess if you did that with a couple of different players, you could, maybe turn a profit that type of way. So I guess I'm not exactly certain, though. I feel like you could do that at one time. And I guess, for myself, I don't mind placing future bets. I actually kind of like looking at future bets more, but I don't like placing them because then again, you just have to wait. It's like, okay, well, I guess I'm going to wait 16 weeks of this NFL season to see if this bet hits. Not going to happen. Let's place this 4-leg parlay on Monday Night Football and just lose that and just have more fun that way. But, for at least looking at the odds, the projectability of some of the future odds is definitely a little bit more fun. But, again, if you were trying to actually be strategic outside of just predicting who's going to win as well, too. Like Dylan Edwards, Kansas State, 300-1. Like, I feel like if I know a name down here, if a name jumps off the page, like maybe I don't even know why, like I just kind of have to take it seriously, but he might have had a good game or something. So, so maybe that's why he's 300-1. Okay, Avery Johnson, also Kansas State. I was trying to think maybe if there's like a, Kansas State running back room that's really stacked, if there's like another guy that was above him. Josh Hoover, TCU. Josh Hoover, also a quarterback, right? See, again, it's like, I don't know why, but maybe that could be just like a random riser this year. Let's see. Josh Hoover, okay. I don't know, quarterback off the bus factor. We'll have to see there. But 4,000 yards, 27 touchdowns, 11 picks. It doesn't have like a height listing. So, if this is like a Tanner McKee build for Josh Hoover, then maybe it's a little bit more, from an NFL standpoint, I guess, is what we're looking at that lens there. And I guess, how about Squirrel White, Florida State? Hey, they might have just put his name in here just because of the name. I don't even know if he's going to have a chance to win. I mean, shout out. But Squirrel White is a fun one. Malachi Fields, Dylan Stewart, South Carolina. So there's Carnell Tate, 500-1. Okay, still making a list. C.J. Donaldson Jr. Oh, blank his name out. Malik Murphy, Oregon State. See, there should be like this guy makes first team All-American type bet as well too. That could be fun. National champion winner, Texas. So they do have Georgia over Ohio State and Penn State on the odds. It is, I guess, tied with Ohio State. But they do have Penn State 4th on the odds versus 2nd in the AP poll right now. Alabama is 5th in the odds, 10-1. Clemson, LSU, Oregon, Notre Dame, Michigan. Oh, 33-1. We didn't even see where they were ranked at. Are we even ranked? I saw that. That's how you know we're still waiting for the season to start, Chad. Hey, it is what it is. Oh, 14. We're right there. I mean, it makes sense too. We got Bryce. We got the hype of that type of quarterback that is supposed to be starting. And again, that's not even the college. A little different, we know, of course, than like a build a franchise around Bryce Underwood. Okay, probably should be good right away ish versus maybe a developmental year, a developmental half a season. It's at Michigan, so you get like 5 developmental non-conference games in the Big Ten to get you ready for that game against Ohio State. It is what it is. So, starting off against New Mexico, I think outside of Arizona State at Northern Arizona, Oregon at Montana State. I mean, I guess there's a couple. Florida at LIU. Shout out. SMU at 16 versus Texas A&M. East Texas A&M. Okay, wait a second. Got to clarify there, chat. East Texas A&M. A little bit different. I mean, is that just the same campus? Are these actually like do these have like 2 different university presidents? Does Texas A&M and then East Texas, does East Texas A&M have its own thing? Or does they still have to like report back to, like, does the chancellor, of East Texas A&M meet up with the president of Texas A&M and they like have lunches together? Or is it just all funneled through Texas A&M system? I don't really know. But I mean, it's not like Iowa, obviously. But it's not like if it was Iowa and then there was just I'm trying to think, we don't have any schools that are just like West Iowa or even like West Iowa State or something like that. There's a Wesleyan and maybe there is a South something. I mean, South Polk, shout out Xavier Nwamka, South Polk, one of the football factories in the state capital. But in terms of, do you have to look up college football programs in the home state? Because that would actually help clarify a little bit to see what are the politics of that. Hey, chat. But East Texas A&M, I guess they have their, they have their own football team, whatever it is. So shout out. We're not trying to disrespect here. It's just, you just not a lot of difference in the name. That's all. So we're just trying to figure that out. But so Indiana at Old Dominion, Texas Tech at Arkansas Pine Bluff. A couple of teams to make Michigan feel better about their New Mexico opponent. And again, it's more Michigan at 14 makes it not as bad. Michigan, preseason ranked number 2. It's like New Mexico State number 1 versus Ohio State. To their credit, the last couple of years, that's the thing you can't deny about the Michigan. I mean, at the end of the day, we've been winning the head-to-head matchup the last couple of years, so we've been able to wipe away any kind of question marks in that sense. And obviously this year wasn't like a question mark type year, but again, in the last handful of years with Harbaugh as well, it wasn't like it's not like we were still walking away those early seasons like, well, they crushed Ohio State, but remember who they played in week 2. Like, I don't know if they're that good. Maybe that got them as well too in the playoffs. It was against TCU, who knows? But we ended up winning our own national title as well too. But for Ohio State, again, they have actually, of course, had the major matchups in the early part of the season over the last couple of years. So, and especially with the expansion of the playoffs, you are at a little bit more of a liberty to do that now. But we do get Notre Dame, Miami week 1 as well, Clemson, LSU. So, week 1, fun. Alabama, Florida State should be a good game. I mean, South Carolina versus Virginia Tech could be a fun game as well, too. Because, again, it is sort of that hit or miss week where you're really relying on the good matchups, where there's not necessarily the middle tier of matchups to kind of just have the random. I mean, there could be the random competitiveness. But, you got like Iowa State, Kansas State as a little, back half of the top 25 matchup as well, too. But so I guess that's more maybe competitive than Virginia Tech versus South Carolina. But at least it's a name program for maybe sellers to have a crazy year against. We got some seller stock for 2025-26. It is what it is. We haven't seen an Illinois quarterback listed, or did we see even an Illinois player listed in the Heisman Trophy thing? So I don't know if that's scary for Illinois or scary for the rest of the league. It's like Illinois is so good that they're just so stacked they don't have a single Heisman candidate, but they're the 12th best team in the nation. But it's like, oh, wait a second. Actually, if you look at the roster, they don't have a single guy's Heisman candidate. We're doubling back on some of the teams now. Byron Brown from South Florida making the list. Luke Altmaier from Illinois. Wait a second. Altmaier, was that an Illinois guy, or am I thinking of him from last year? But is he like a tight end maybe? Maybe he was in the draft and then went back to school. Oh no, he is a quarterback. Shout out. LSU. So 22 touchdowns, 6 picks last year. 2,700 yards, 60% completion percentage, 40. Oh, I guess he was 8 for 17. I was gonna say 47%. Hey, yo, that's crazy. But you love the confidence as well too. That can't necessarily be underrated. So Luke Altmaier, the first Illinois player listed at 250 to 1, right above Billy Edwards from Wisconsin, Dylan Edwards from Kansas State. So just like you just put the Edwards guys down here. Oh, there's Singleton from Penn State at 300 to 1 as well too, and at both of them at 300 to 1. I guess, wait a second, is there like a third Penn State running back that they brought into the mix that is going to potentially take away some Heisman votes? I don't think so. I mean, that would just be, at that point they probably would have just gone to the league as well too. So that seems a little crazy as well. I guess, where was Aller at? Aller at 18 to 1. And again, the mix, we all, the combination of that. And it's not even like, I guess maybe now with the 12-team playoff, it'd be a little weird if the Heisman Trophy winner, I guess even still, if he was like from the 17th best team in college football, it would have been a little bit more rare. I guess, like what year was Lamar when he won the Heisman? But, Louisville was good that year as well too. They were really competitive. So it's not like it was just, oh, who has, simply the best stats in college football. There was also that competitiveness as well, too. But, shout out. So Michigan, right on the edge of making the 12-team playoffs. Again, I guess historically we never have made the 12-team playoff in the one season that it existed. We won the national title and then just had a little bit of a rebuilding year, chat. Hey, yo, it is what it is. But we'll be back. We've got the coach locked in. We've got the quarterback, like we said. locked in. And in terms of potential, like I guess the ceiling at some point is elevated above these guys. Again, can he get there in year one? Obviously, is going to be the question. But with the setup as well too. I mean, and just with the quarterback play that we had last year. I mean, even just win the shout out to the quarterback play that we did have. But even to win the Ohio State game, the way that we did, the way that the team was functioning, it was kind of crazy. Again, that upset obviously even happened, but just in general, the fact that we were in as many games, and that we had a couple of first round picks and stuff, like our defense was, absolutely crazy. But we'll still have a lot of those pieces as well too laying around, and like we're saying, the great quarterback to bring in and see what's going there. So that's a fun stretch of teams as well. I wonder if you could, FanDuel, they should just let us, take care of the props, chat. You should be able to like bet on the segments of teams. So the odds would obviously increase as, you go down on the whoa, pause as you scroll down on the list. But if you just like, okay, the national title, there's a, minus 200 chance that the national champions from one of the top 5 teams, or there's a plus 120 chance. That odds might not be great, but the odds are from the next 5 and then the next 5. Because I basically just want to bet South Carolina, Michigan, and Florida, all 3 of those teams. I just want to bet on Sellers, Underwood, and Lagway. Because can we just bet who are going to be the most fun quarterbacks in college football next year? Is Lagway up for the draft? I don't think he's quite in the mix yet. So he would be a sophomore this year then, so he would have been a true freshman last year. Yeah, I guess so. So here, let me double check and see if the Tankathon has him listed here. Okay, I'm assuming they have Nico listed as a top 50 draft prospect. Hey, yo. I don't know if that's necessarily the way that it would seem from the conversations. But hey, if somebody aligns with us on still having some Nico stock, then we're in on that for sure. So should be a fun year. I guess, when does it start here? Probably in a couple of, August 30th. I'm saying we're staring right at the dates the entire time. So let's go, chat. Let's go. We've only got one more weekend, this weekend, then one more weekend before football is actually back, because, college, we'll have a stacked college weekend, then we'll get the NFL back in the mix as well, too. So we've made it, chat. We've almost made it. The end of the summer lull is almost over. The sports world is almost about to, and, I need a shout out to the WNBA, to baseball, to all the sports that are on, golf, and the summer sports as well too. You got to give them their respect. But, nothing beats the height of the fall winter sports season. It's just what it is. It's a great period of the sports time. And because as well too, a lot of those sports overlap into that period, and you get the mix of all the sports as well. So, I mean, of course. But, while we wait, chat, for the sports world to get back in the mix, we've got another movie anniversary rewatch to I guess rewatch tonight. It is what it is. Our guy John Singleton's Four Brothers, classic film from 2005. Mark Wahlberg, Tyrese Gibson, Andre 3K, and Garrett Hedlund. Garrett. Yeah, we got the cast there, right? Terrence Howard. We got Terrence Howard back again, chat. Ayo, Hustle and Flow. Obviously, 2005, Terrence Howard killing it. But, we will take a quick break, get the movie fired up here, chat. You guys can find it right now on Paramount Plus, and it's on Pluto as well, too. If we go to Pluto, it might literally just be live on Pluto. I think they have a channel that's just 24/7. It's just called Four Brothers. They just play the movie all the time. It's literally holding down Pluto, single-handedly. It's just LeBron putting up 58 points every... it's just Four Brothers in Beverly Hills Cop and Mission Impossible. It's just carrying Pluto right now. But when we get back, like I said, we will have the movie fired up. We will be watching along to the 2005 John Singleton classic, Four Brothers, chat. So get it fired up with us, and stay tuned. right, chat, we are back. We are fired up and ready to go. Four Brothers is underway. Like we said, you can find it right now on Paramount Plus or Pluto. You can stream along with us. So we're started up. We got the Paramount logo with the snow drifting across the front. I guess I don't know what the timestamp is right now, but 10, 11, 12. We're getting into the movie. We're fading into the paradise on the car as we open up here. You'll be close enough to get locked in. Set in Detroit, which of course is a fun factor here. We got the mom. I guess the basic plot of the movie, for those that don't know, maybe first time watching, is and I guess spoiler alert here. And I guess we can unveil the plot more as the first scene unfolds with the mom into the drugstore. We've got the mom sort of handing out life advice to the kids in the neighborhood. I don't know how, there's some stuff in this movie, but, our guy Singleton is locked in as well, too. And I guess, shout out to this lady. I guess she has her own sort of price that she pays as well, too. I don't know if necessarily for this, but, she definitely, I guess, we kind of already spoiled it. It is what it is. But it's generally the plot of the movie, so I guess we'll let the first scene go before we say too much, just in case, we are maybe watching along for the first time here. But yeah, like we said, our guy Singleton, 2005, 20 years ago, this movie was released. And not the last movie that he directed, but definitely the last movie that he directed in sort of his run of movies, sort of in a row there, and then he would return in 2011 with a movie called Abduction by Taylor Lautner, by Singleton, but with Taylor Lautner, which is the one Singleton that we haven't seen yet. I mean, shout out to our guy Taylor Lautner. We'll definitely be firing that one up at some point, but we just haven't gotten around to it. I don't know. Taylor Lautner just hasn't quite, creeped up the watch list the same way that, the Andre 3K Tyrese Mark Wahlberg vehicle has, chat. And then it's just like, well, if Four Brothers is on Pluto again, like we said it has been, then we're definitely going to be rewatching that instead of just trying to find this other movie. But unfortunately, we got the store hold up, chat. It is what it is. Definitely not the store hold up from Booty Call, that's for sure. The guy probably would have had the shotgun under the desk, ready to go. I guess I forget that. I don't think that. Maybe they had Uzis in that. And then, unfortunately, the old lady mom who we get introduced to in the beginning of the movie is caught whimpering in the background of the store, and we see the robbers back. They turn on the mom, and then we cut to the outside of the store where you see, of course, the shotgun flashes, and then you assume what happens at that point. They end up taking out the sweet little old lady. So that sets up, of course, what this movie is right away. Bam, we're in, chat. Revenge thriller. The mom is dead. The movie's called Four Brothers, so you can only assume at this point, but the four brothers reunited to avenge her death. And, I guess we'll obviously unlock some stuff further as the movie goes. But that kind of just little technique as well, too, of the sort of the cutaway where you see the flash of you see like the barrel flash and you hear the sounds, but you don't actually see what happens. That is a good, effective technique. I mean, there is, of course, you can get like an off-screen something, or you can get like the Daredevil hallway fight scene where he's going into maybe there's like a into the room and then you kind of hear the violence. Maybe the guy gets like thrown back out into the hallway type situation and you get that sort of ordeal. But the cutaway to the sort of flashing lights is a good one. I guess Oppenheimer is a little bit like that with the Trinity test. We need to go back and rewatch the Trinity test as well too. I feel like that one, because you want to rewatch in the moment, but it's like when you first watch the movie in theaters, and then it's like, well, it doesn't quite have the YouTube thing going quite yet for you to pull it up and rewatch it in that type of way. And then by the time it does hit, it's like, well, I don't know if I'm quite in the same mood to rewatch Trinity test. And I guess I just hasn't. For some reason, the algorithm hasn't quite recommended us the Trinity test. I don't know why we're misstepping their chat. Hey, yo. But of course, the brothers reunited at the funeral. And I mean, as you can assume by the by the makeup of the cast and the mom as well too. Some adopted brothers going on. The mom was in the foster system. I guess, we're just saying Terrence Howard's lines at this point, sheltering these kids. But again, just sort of the basic premise to set up the movie. I almost wonder if Terrence Howard's only role basically in this movie is to just introduce characters and to kind of set stuff up. At points he'll just like walk in and just like be like, okay, I'll just kind of catch you up on what's going on in the plot, and then kind of take off again. But it's Terrence Howard, so shout out, 05 Terrence Howard. I guess this would be right after Hustle and Flow, because we just did the anniversary rewatch for that one recently as well too. So dominating, and then gonna be winning the Oscar as well too in the recent future, near future, I guess. But I guess more supporting, like we said, just kind of pop-up role in this movie, the brothers being the main part of the cast. But like we're saying, we got the lady giving some neighborly advice. So she's trying to do the right thing, obviously. She's a sweet old lady, everybody in the neighborhood loves her. But Singleton's like, she's dead. It is what it is. But this movie was, I was reading a little bit, based off of, there's an old Western movie. Like most old Westerns, I guess you just John Wayne. I forget who, there's another kind of classic guy in the movie as well too. I forget who he was. But same sort of kind of premise where the mom dies, but the mom wasn't murdered in that one. The mom just dies, and then that's sort of the event that brings the brothers back together. And then I think what ends up happening is they end up solving an old murder that gets sort of brought back up because of a land dispute, because of it was like the death turns into a land dispute. And then because of the land dispute, they solve an old murder, and it kind of works that way. But in this one, I mean, as we know now, in the opening credits, or, opening scene, I guess not even really the opening credits. The opening credits are rolling right now. But, the opening scene, of course, the mom is taken out. So, I mean, revenge thriller is about as, easy a premise to get you into a movie and to just get you set up into the action set pieces as you're going to get. And, I mean, Chad, avenging, I feel like, again, the avenging your mom type thing, I mean, it's a tough one. You're going to take out any sort of any sort of just innocent bystander character is going to be, obviously like a tough watch, even if it is early in the movie and you kind of understand that it's like, oh, well, it's for sort of the premise of the revenge factor of it. But obviously, it's like, well, you don't really need much more exposition than that, even if there is, however basic it needs to be and whatever the revenge plot itself is. It's like, yeah, okay, beloved family member done in by somebody else. You got to go get him back. So, and, for Singleton as well, too, like we're saying, him kind of working on this sort of genre-y type movie, because in a way, he almost himself kind of created a genre of movie. And I know that there's influences, and I guess maybe more so, helped create a genre of movie. And you've got obviously filmmakers in the 70s, Spike emerging in the 80s, and people paving the way for him to set up to have his emergence in the 90s and to have the career that he had. But again, his movies were very focused on sort of the life situational storytelling of the people in the movies. And again, there was sort of different tones and sort of different characters that the movies revolved around, obviously, in different perspectives of life. But they were all sort of in that same kind of Singleton universe type vibe. Versus this one, again, he is just like, hey, I'm just kind of making sort of an action-y type thriller and just going to have fun with the guys just, messing around the whole time and just going crazy. And Wahlberg as a star as well too. Is Wahlberg, I'm trying to, I guess he got Rappaport in Higher Learning. Hey, shout out, I guess. I don't know if he gets necessarily a shout out, but I guess, for shout out for the movie itself, I guess. But Singleton's working with white leads. Is Mark Wahlberg, I guess, is then technically the best white lead he's ever worked with. Who am I missing, Chad? Oh, Paul Walker from uh, Too Fast, Too Furious. So we've got who's John Singleton the accountant? Hey yo, I mean shout out to John Singleton the accountant, but I mean has he had a more famous career than John Singleton the director? It is what it is, but yeah. So I guess it would be between Michael Rappaport, Paul Walker, and Mark Wahlberg. So I guess if we're narrow it down between Mark Wahlberg and Paul Walker. So I guess it is tough. And in terms of actors, obviously, I think Paul Walker is a little bit of a better actor for sure. But whatever the proper grammar is there, chat. R.I.P. the legend, of course. But Wahlberg just in this movie is just going absolutely crazy. Is just completely unhinged. He's unhinged with his acting, but he's just also unhinged with the lines as well too. Again, I don't know if he's the most unhinged character that has ever been in a Singleton movie, but he may be right up there with just the amount of just go for it lines per second. The amount of normal dialogue versus this guy's just going to say something just totally wacky is almost, it's probably like 60-40, maybe even 70-30, just normal being the lower number for sure. But again, and again, our guy kind of moving with the genres as well too. But I guess more so with Shaft and Too Fast, Too Furious as well too. With those movies, what I was meaning to say was like those are kind of those sort of franchisey-esque movies. So there is a little bit of and again, they're obviously action movies and they're fun there, and they're early again on in the franchise, so he can sort of set a tone in a way. I guess Shaft's obviously a reboot of a movie from a while back, but it's still around kind of a character that already exists in, again, Too Fast, Too Furious in a franchise that already exists. You kind of have the car element that's going to be a major factor. So it is fun that he was able to have this diversity even in this sort of action genre as well. But this is just his most again sort of free from all those type of things. And I guess I don't know if original is the right term, but again, it's definitely not connected with any of those other franchise stuff. There was like a potential, I was reading about something for a potential sequel, like a Five Brothers, but outside of that, there hasn't really been much franchising of this. So we get Wahlberg, crying over the loss of his mom in the bathroom. The mini hoop in the hallway, a fun touch. You gotta, of course, assume that there's just a mini hoop set up. But, I mean, again, Wahlberg is, shout out, just a beloved, the B-level movies, the action star. And this, of course, early 2000s Wahlberg is a great run in the IMDb page for him as well, too. Because he's going to have, is it Shooter? Which one is Felipe in? Which one's Wahlberg in? Jumper? Wahlberg's got Looper? Wahlberg's got one of those action movies in like 07 that's right around this time, right after this. It's just a good run for good quality movies, but also just fun, Wahlberg parts and fun Wahlberg performances. But again, and like this one, they ask him to like cry like maybe like 4 or 5 different times in the movie, and you get the first one there in the bathroom, and Wahlberg's just not that great of a crier. It is what it is, shout out, but the man can't cry. I don't know if we would have necessarily have pegged him as like he's gonna have like a Adam Driver type emotional breakdown type scene. I guess you picture that may be a little bit different. I guess could Wahlberg have done the yelling like Driver in the scene? I don't know, but the scene. We all know what it is. But it's the one with ScarJo. I just Noah Baumbach. It is what it is. But I've only seen the scene. I haven't seen most of the movie. But it's like I'll just watch these scenes. I guess they're good at acting. But yeah, Wahlberg. Again, great with the action stuff. Great when he's running around waving a gun and just like, I'm going to say something insulting. I'm going to say a witty line. I'm going to chase this guy down and try to punch him and shoot a gun at him. But him crying over lost relative in the bathroom is not necessarily like the best Wahlberg. Or Wahlberg telling Tyrese that Sofia Vergara can't stay at the house, which Here, should we look up? I guess I'm not necessarily locked in on, again, some of the TV stuff. So I know Modern Family definitely could have started around this time again. Modern Family was on for forever. So I'm assuming that maybe that could have even made sense in her casting. Okay, so 2009. So it would have been before before she got that role as well too. So here, let's double check her film credits. Yeah, this would have been early on. Oh, Soul Plane's 2004. Okay, so we've got a deleted scene in Collateral Damage. Shout out, Big Trouble, 2002. Chasing Poppy, 2003. So Rosalind Sanchez, Sofia Vergara, Jackie Velasquez, and Eduardo Vestigi. Hey, yo, we're not going to get Eduardo's name right, unfortunately. He's looking like a little Spanish Rob Lowe over here. But just sounds like one of the sexiest casts of all time, Chad. Hey, yo, Rosalind Sanchez, Sofia Vergara, Jacqueline Vesquez, and then I guess, even Eduardo himself. We don't even need to get the last name right. Just Eduardo, works enough. But then I guess you get the 24th Day, and then Soul Plane. And then after so the Soul Plane Four Brothers sort of 2004, 2005 is when she starts to break onto the scene as well. But yeah, again, this is about as early as you're going to start to get her into the, I guess, the filmography Hollywood mix like this as well too. In 2014 was ranked the 32nd most powerful woman in the world by Forbes. Her position was 30th. Can we get I want like a graph of like all just the most powerful woman graph for Sofia Vergara? What's the peak position? Hey, yo, I need the advanced analytics on the what this ranking is, chat. This is great. 32. Again, that's great. We'd be like, oh, only. I mean, that's and there's you're just gonna get the politician bump as well too. It's like, okay, well, this, and I guess, most powerful woman, I'm just reading what it's called here, but, it's just like, okay, this person's the chancellor of a country or something. Like, there's probably just going to be a little bit more sway in maybe that type of role than just, the seventh lead on Modern Family or whatever. But still, again, to get to the top 35 does seem like it's pretty crazy, based on that kind of filmography. So, from Four Brothers to 10 years later, top 35 most powerful person in the world. So I don't know if that would have been the ranking. I think the only other one that could have made the case would have been, I guess, Singleton at a time as well too. Or, of course, Andre 3K. Like, Andre 3K, 2005, of course, is, as the Outcast thing is starting to wind down at this point. We get Idlewild next year. But so I guess I don't know, like the production history for that. Are they filming it at this point? So Big Boy apparently didn't want to show up for the casting call for Four Brothers. I don't know what happened there, but and we should say as well too that Singleton, again, just not only mixing into the action genre, but mixing in we got like just a good 10-minute stretch of this movie, maybe not 10 minutes, but just a good couple minute stretch of this movie just being soul food for a second. Speaking of Soul Plane, we just got dinner tables and just Thanksgiving, holiday lunches and all kinds of side dishes and casseroles. And, we also got the scene where it's like, where's the missing part of the family? So also, speaking of acting, the scene where Garrett Hedlund is looking at the imaginary mom while she's like, hey, I know you're traumatized. And then you let the traumatized look on his face. That, and then, maybe a scene a little bit later, maybe two of the most acting scenes that, again, just Garrett Hedlund has ever done in his career. Just because you would assume, like, Mark Wahlberg, maybe, I guess The Departed, he's pretty good in The Departed, but even in that role, it is a little bit more lines, and I guess his delivery on all that stuff is really good. But even his best scene, it's like that scene at the end where, his best scene, but, that scene at the end where it's like he's not even really acting in that scene, but he does, he's just like shaking the gun a little bit when he does look pretty mad when he's, pointing the gun at Damon. So I actually got to give him credit. He is good at acting, not obviously in the movie, but even in that last scene, again, just showing up, just holding the gun. It's a pretty effective, he's giving it a little something there. And then Damon as well too. It's good in that scene. And that one's speaking of scenes locked in the algorithm, that one's been locked in the algorithm as of late. Maybe it's Wahlberg. Us just watching Wahlberg in this movie, but yeah, I guess speaking of Andre 3K would be for probably peak Forbes list person in this movie, maybe up there as well too. And the iconic lawyer guy who, if I just as we learn more about film history, this is a name that'll definitely get locked in the memory bank for sure. This guy's iconic and been around for a couple of roles, but I don't know the name just necessarily by looking at him. But you get the will reading, of course, always. Anytime you pivot to a will. But now, the dinner's been cleaned up. We are back kind of in on the revenge thriller type thing. But again, speaking of Sofia Vergara, like, you've got, obviously, the movie's called The Four Brothers. That's going to be the focus of the movie. But you do have Taraji P in this movie as well too, as Andre 3K's lady in this movie. So she's in a couple of scenes, and there's a good scene, of course, of both of them in a hospital, or not a hospital, it was a police station at the end of the movie, where there's some fun scene from just like a fun cut to Sofia Vergara and Taraji P. But Sofia Vergara does do a little bit more in this movie, and again, even in 2005, obviously Taraji P a little bit more established at this point. Again, has had a history of it, at least working with Singleton as well. So at least you're trusting her with some lines, and she's good. Sofia Vergara, like, at this point, her character, again, it's become so entrenched with the Modern Family thing and just the impersonations and all that stuff. But it is, like, I don't know, it's not necessarily that she's never strayed away from it. It's not necessarily to say, like, oh, she only ever does one thing in a movie. But again, there are the notes of a Sofia Vergara character that you are seeing here in this role as well too. And it's just fun to think, like, to look back at the 20 years and be like, hey, again, I'm not saying, oh, pigeonhole or whatever, but she's just really funny. And then again, at Modern Family, like, brings a good comedic element to this movie as well too, which again is a good balance of sort of a thriller type movie with the comedy energy, which again, it is kind of it's not like a crazy, I guess, thriller, like intense, gory, actiony type movie. Again, it is fun with them moving around. There are a couple of fun actiony type moments for sure, but between that and the comedic stuff, it is a pretty light sort of fun movie overall. So Singleton's obviously throwing heat with this one for sure. But yeah, here, like we said, for Wahlberg, this was a really great stretch in his career at this point. And Wahlberg's always been, for a good run there. I think maybe some of the movie choices as of late, I don't know if he's necessarily been gravitating toward the best scripts, but shout out to Mark Wahlberg. But yeah, you've got the Italian Job in 2003, Four Brothers in 2005, The Departed in 2006, Shooter, that's the one that he's in. Pause. In 2007, and then I guess The Lovely Bones has been another one that there's been clips of that in our algorithm a lot as well too. I mean, again, I guess we're watching them, so that's why they're sticking around. But so we'll throw that in the mix. The Lovely Bones. The Other Guys in 2010. The Fighter as well too. I guess, are we counting Date Night with Steve Carell and Tina Fey? Pain and Gain. In Ted in 2012. Pain and Gain in 2013. Transformers. He enters the Transformers franchise in 2014. Ted 2. And then Daddy's Home. In 2015. Deepwater Horizon. Patriots Day. He's still kind of doing the action-y thing with Mile 22 in 2018 as well. But yeah, he hasn't really gone that way, I guess, since then. King Arthur. Or no, Arthur the King. Okay, totally different type of movie. Yeah, not going that way at all. Flight Risk. Maybe he gets kind of back into that with this. I guess the trailers for this are maybe him kind of getting back into a little bit more of an intense movie type role. But this is a little bit of a smaller movie as well too. So I guess that's okay. But Uncharted Infinite's with him and Fuqua, yeah. So this is a movie that's actually on the watch. So I really want to see this, and this looks like a big budgety type movie as well. But again, it's kind of in the family sort of phase of his career. So Spencer Confidential in 2020 was kind of like, I think, like a fun sort of relatable movie as well. But we get Wahlberg leading the break in to the gang sort of house as well as the fronting as the Detroit police, leading the interrogation. Again, just ruthless in this movie. Loves to just go straight up pour gas on things and threaten to light people on fire. I mean, it is pretty effective because obviously all you have to do is kind of even just like if a person even tries to avoid it, like all you have to do is really get a little bit on them, and they're kind of a risk at that point, and then just even a little bit of a spark, and again, they're at risk at that point. So it's you're walking a fine line with those two materials, but not necessarily something that you see. Like obviously the Joker uses it for the cash, and then puts the guy on the cash, but Wahlberg just using it as a technique as well, because then they go to interrogate the councilman a little bit later, and he just dumps it on his car, and like threatens to set his car on fire, which I mean is a little terrifying for sure. Like you're clearly just like watching it being like, okay, this guy is unhinged, but or if you're just sitting in your car, you'd be like, who is this unhinged guy? But in terms of just pouring gas on the roof of my car and lighting, I guess again, a car being on fire around gas is risky, but I feel like I might have a few seconds to kind of break away if it's just sort of dumping it on the hood of my car and lighting it on fire from that point. But again, running down into the engine, it's obviously a scary situation at that point. But a go-to terrifying move from Wahlberg. And then they drag him out to the pickup basketball court. They've got to double check his alibi because he's saying something about the court lights are off by 10. But, of course, they're not off by 10 because it's 10:02. Wahlberg's getting antsy. It's like, we're going to kill this guy because he's wrong. It's 10:02. The lights are off. Or lights aren't off yet. But this is one of the can I say better uses of sports in a action movie? Like it might be like there's not, I guess there is a good crossover, but it feels like you kind of go one or the other. And I feel like if you take martial arts kind of out of it as well too as a sport in a movie, not to say that it doesn't qualify, but it feels like maybe it's a little bit of its own separate thing, because then it can become a plot point in the movie as well too, more so than just like a scene or a set piece. But you just again kind of don't have some crossover like that sometimes between the sports where I mean you get like a Kurt Russell escape to LA type of scene as well, or you'll get maybe in like if we just go movie comedies like Wedding Crashers, you get a football scene or something like that. But an actual like this action piece is going to kind of take place in this court kind of environment. I guess Nolan might actually be kind of the number one with using Bane at the football game. Like that might be one of the most effective uses of it just in general, because again that speaking of which does become a plot point as well. But that's a different type of thing where again it's like Bane's got to terrorize something, so we're choosing to have it be football at that point, and then obviously the way the player is like running across the field and that's collapsing behind him, and just the Bane walking out and giving the speech and it being kind of actually motivating a little bit as well too. Like it's obviously just a bunch of great pieces that are put in place there. But multiple scenes of being on a basketball court and hockey courts and just a lot of different sports things involved in this movie. So they go to the store. We're seeing the cameras. Actually, speaking of Wahlberg crying, this might be one of the best Wahlberg cry scenes because it's just sort of like a, tears welling up in the eyes, but not quite actually full on crying. And they actually witness, of course, they pull up the security cam footage. They have it queued up and ready to go to show the brothers, which I don't know if we need to ask questions about, this store manager just showing this security footage to this family. But also, if police confiscate security footage, does that mean they just grab a hard drive? Because I guess we did have at jobs that I have worked in the past. There's been like a fight outside the building, or maybe a car gets broken into or something, and they're like, "Oh, can we get the footage from outside there?" So it's not like they're like, can we get the footage from 2 o'clock on Thursday night and then delete that hour? It's like, they just take, I guess, the video because they want to see what's going on there. So the guy in the store could obviously still have the video, queued up on the TV. At this point, it probably has been a good week or so at this point. But speaking of which, the guy describes one of the witnesses as a Ben Wallace type character. He says he has an afro like Ben Wallace. So again, 2005, this movie, we should have mentioned this as well too in the beginning. Not written by Singleton. A little bit of a rarity for his filmography. But as this movie's probably being written, you got the Pistons, of course, making the Eastern Conference Finals every year, and then even winning the finals themselves against the Lakers. And Ben Wallace would have been one of the cooler players in the league at that point and just had a trendier afro. So, again, I'm assuming. But also, I'm trying to think of, like, afros at that time in the league. Like, weirdly, I feel like, and again, to the degree that Ben Wallace was rocking with it at some points there, where it was, pretty distinct. And then to kind of have the headband as well, too, shape it in a way that it was. Like, again, just kind of gave it a distinct factor. But you look at the basketball court, and this, again, going to a basketball court, the one that he's on right now, no afros in 2004. We've got a pair of cornrows, a bunch of buzz cuts, and a bald guy, which, again, that feels like a pretty good representation of the time for sure. You would have a guy with cornrows for sure. I mean, not necessarily too rare for today as well, too. The braided stuff is, I guess, what are we calling it now? It's just going to be stuck in my mind as that because that's what it used to be called in Madden. So it's just like, I guess, spoiler alert, it's the hair that we would select in Madden. So I'm just used to thinking about it like that. But the braided look, of course, is coming back. And, obviously a little bit more exquisite than just like the braided rows now. The designing and stuff does seem to be a little bit more trendier than just, like the way kind of Kawhi has it. Hey, shout out Kawhi, of course. But, the way that Kawhi has the sort of old school traditional look done up. So, and I guess you get the Pistons leather jacket is a good accessory piece from the victim, and also can kind of help with the Ben Wallace description. Or did he say? I thought he said he had an afro like Ben Wallace. Did he say a Ben Wallace jersey? Because he doesn't really have an afro, to be honest. He's got a wave cap on. Maybe that's to change up the look after the scene of the crime. But Wahlberg in the middle of, we still don't really know what this basketball game is. There's a banner in the back that says something about district championship. Is that high school? This doesn't really look like high school, but I guess it could be a college district. It could also, I guess, be a pro district, church league district championship. It's a high school gym. So we know it's probably not like a semi-pro league, but probably a college, probably like a AA college or a single A, AAA, AA kind of college situation where NAIA, maybe it's an NAIA sort of district championship. I don't know if they'd call it district championship, maybe still like a conference championship at that point. But could Mark Wahlberg, trying to avenge his mother's death, step into the middle of an NAIA game and break it up? I don't know. But I don't know if we were having a high school game there. Maybe it was a 2025 AAU game. Maybe that's Singleton, again, thinking ahead. He's like, hey, you're going to be watching these AAU games in 2025 going, what's happening? These kids are like standing on top of the rim, dunking like better than Zach LaVine and Aaron Gordon in the dunk contest. And they're on an AAU team. Like, what's going on here? But we get, again, just 2 basketball scenes right away. So, and set in Detroit, a good sort of diverse sports town. But even though Wahlberg, again, interrupts a couple of basketball games, they are a hockey family, which is a little bit of a strange thing. I don't know if that's sort of the Detroit northern setting, Singleton trying to, be unique with the snow. But also, it could just be basketball as well, too. Like, they have the Turkey Cup at the beginning. Like, they should have just played, it should really just be a pickup game. They should honestly just be playing basketball at that point. And again, I get the northern maybe influence of wanting to have hockey be in there, but also, and also I don't know, the white mom maybe playing hockey. I'm not sure, but I feel like uh, either way, you're just going out there for a pickup basketball game. A group of brothers, again, playing hockey is not crazy, but just seems like they would have gravitated toward that. Again, even I guess they wouldn't have been grown up in 2004, but they would have been growing up in probably the Wahlberg and Andre 3K have been watching sports to, hypothetically age-wise, to see which Red Wings teams, if they were the characters in this movie, they would be rooting for. If it was like around the time that they were winning the NBA titles as well too. So they were in the semifinals, 92-93, divisional finals, 90-91, again semifinals in 90. So pretty good, kind of a 500 regular season team. I guess 92-93 was sort of their best season here. They do end up winning a couple of Stanley Cups in 96-97, so I guess that would kind of help with the hockey craze a little bit, and them even making a Stanley Cup Finals in 1994-95. So I think that's a little past Gordie Howe. I think Gordie Howe was not playing in the 90s. Where was he at? I guess they just have the coaches list here. I thought maybe that was a player for a second. I didn't realize it was labeled coaches. Wait, let's just look up. Oh, they have Gordie Howe right here. Oh, they don't have his years, though. 215 PAPS or whatever that said. 1947. Whoa. Is this his life or his NHL career? 1947 to 1980? He played for 40 years? I don't think it was quite 40, but 33 years? Gordie Howe played. Is that actually true, Chad? I guess we could click on it and verify. Hey, yo, Mr. Hockey, 26 years with in the NHL. Shout out our guy Gordie Howe. 1946-47 was his rookie season at 18 years old till 1979-80, and he was 51. So I guess I don't know if he was playing. He was kind of playing a little bit these last seasons. Wait, games? Yeah, a little bit. For sure. So shout out Gordie Howe. They're naming awards after him while he's playing. The Howe. That's crazy. 1947. I mean, that would be like Don Hudson playing with Joe Montana. I don't know if Joe Montana was drafted in 79, but, George Mikan plays with Magic Johnson his rookie season. It's like instead of the Magic Johnson subs in for Kareem, it's just Magic Johnson subbed in for a 51-year-old George Mikan. Maybe you should have had that happen in game one. So, yeah, I guess, Gordie Howe maybe would have obviously his legend would have been there. So you're thinking about him for the youth hockey in Detroit around this time. They're winning in 96-97. And again, a little bit in the 2000s as well, too. So there's a year right here where Detroit's like on top of the sports world and winning a couple of titles. Chris Osgood is the goalie. Brennan Shanahan. They got a Shanahan on this team. Steve Yurman and Sergei Fedorov as well, too, winning some awards. Nicholas Lidstrom. Vladimir Konstantinov, Vyacheslav Fedosov. We've got a Fedosov. This guy likes hockey so much he named himself Fedosov. I don't know if that's exactly what happened, but 2001 too. So it was really close because I think the Pistons, it was 0-3-4 that they won the finals. The Red Wings, it looked like they lost in the semis. But 0-1-0-2, the Red Wings would run. So again, early 2000s, around the time that they're making this movie, Detroit sports is cooking. Let's see, the Lions, I guess, themselves wouldn't be too hot necessarily. And I don't know about the Tigers as well, too. We could look up Tigers. Again, early mid-90s there, they would have had Barry Sanders and then been winning the title as well. So that could have been a fun time for Detroit. But then wouldn't have had four brothers setting it as well, too. So, let's see. Oh, Lidstrom! Lidstrom's still around. Shanahan still around. So kind of older. They just kind of, this was the Spurs, I guess, kind of dipping back in their bag and winning the title again as well in 2001, 2002. I guess not quite the same separation that, maybe the Spurs had, but still them hanging around a couple of years and not giving up the fight. So 96, 97, yeah, maybe this would have been right after the Lions kind of were competitive a little bit with Sanders in the mix. But you see Singleton taking advantage of his Detroit setting with a snow street car chase scene, which I feel like is something that hasn't happened a ton. Speaking of the Fast and Furious movies, they do of course have the scene in Fast 8 where they have the chase on the flats. I feel like something like that might be common, like a chase on the salt flats, or maybe like an iced over lake. Like driving on an iced over lake might be more common than say a chase in the snow. I'm trying to think of a chase in the snow, because of course the snow adds a whole different element to driving, but that's what makes this chase fun, is they're sliding around. Wahlberg, of course, has a moment where the guys they're chasing are stuck in a snowbank, and he's like, okay, well, I'm going to hit this guy with my car. It turns out that just frees them from being stuck in this snowbank, and they just drive away. And then because Wahlberg hit them with his car, he's now punctured his tire in driving on a flat tire. So he lost his opportunity to get him while they were stopped in the car and damaged his own car, compromising them in the chase. Not Wahlberg's best move in this movie. But again, a fun setting by Singleton. You see the snow kind of blowing into the car, messing with them. Not a lot of like cold, cold face. Any kind of like, Garrett Hedlund just icicles on his just lips and nose after hanging his head out the window here driving along. I guess we don't really see if it's like they're like a -30 when they're filming this. It may still be like a crisp like 28, some snow on the ground. You can make that work. Maybe like 22 at some point. If it's been really cold, people out west are like, whoa, 22. How do you survive? If it's been -22, then that's do the math. That's a 44-degree difference. That's literally, as much as it doesn't seem like the difference, because again, like, how much does it really, I guess it does move the needle, obviously. Death to no death, but, water's still going to be frozen from -22 to 22. Like, that part of it doesn't change. So 44 to 88 does feel like a bigger change. But again, the temperature change between 22 and -22 might actually be more important, because that might actually keep you alive a little bit. But I feel like 22, you're still, at risk at some point. You're not just like, well, okay, I'm t-shirt and shorts the entire time. But the adjustment period is definitely up there. So we get them finally overturning the car. They pull them out of the car. And, Singleton, chat, he doesn't hold back. He doesn't hold back. They were, as they found out from the security footage in the store, that it seemed like it was a setup. They did the investigation. They found the contract killers. Again, they are contract killers. And they get their revenge, chat. Ayo. Garrett Hedlund is a little bit, thrown off by the situation. But I feel like a lot of times, again, maybe like a revenge movie might be the whole movie is them, of course, working their way to get to the final moment where they get that final kill in that final revenge, or they sort of free up the person, or, you get maybe the person has the good moment where they're like, I'm better than you. I'll spare you, and, you'll face justice, or kind of whatever is going on there. And you can, I guess, get your vengeance that way. Or maybe it's like a Denzel sort of Man on Fire, like, they're checking boxes as they go, and then there's sort of one last box to check at the end of the movie, and then maybe that goes south, but they check the box, or, something along those lines. This one, they do kind of get the revenge in the, like, we're not necessarily, like, too far into the movie. What are we, like, 35 minutes? Okay, at 45 minutes into the movie at this point. We're, third in, maybe a little more like halfway at this point, and we are the mother avenged. Contract killers are down. Now, of course, there is the contract killer part of it that could be figured out as well too. But they did get some of the guys that pulled the triggers as well. So, at least part of that is taken care of. So, Terrence Howard, he's got to investigate. Unfortunately, there was, some dead bodies that turned up in the snow. I mean, I guess for some reason he thinks he has to go to these guys as well too. But we were talking a lot about Terrence Howard, of course, in the Hustle and Flow rewatch, as that is kind of a Terrence Howard led performance. But you get him in the sidekick role, and he does just have kind of a ease to him as well too. Again, this movie being kind of a lighter movie, he doesn't get necessarily the chase down sort of cop storyline like we were saying. He sort of pops in, he moves some different plot points. This might be one of the few sort of scenes where it's like, okay, we're not really moving forward too much in this scene. And, we kind of got some stuff that's already established at this point. It's kind of like Terrence Howard at this, they won't crack, basically, pause, under pressure. And I guess you do, maybe more importantly, I guess, well, the thing that you would get is the undercover cop, the guy next to Terrence Howard, is kind of steps up and goes face to face, toe to toe with Tyrese Gibson's character, and is like kind of getting ready to have an altercation with him. So you do kind of establish him as a little bit of a wild card character as well too. That may kind of be important to some point. But now we get the introduction of our guy who, shout out, I know we're going to butcher his name if we try to say his name. Let's see if we can pull him up here. And that way you guys know who we're talking about for sure. But he's the villain of the movie. Of course, he's a great actor with a great career. Maybe they'll have a pronunciation on here that we can. Oh, whoa! They have the little audio thing. Oh, this is great. We can actually hear it. Maybe. Let's see. Chiwetel Ejiofor. I don't think I quite got the last name, but oh wait, now I forgot the first name. Wait, let me listen to it one more time here real quick. Chiwetel Ejiofor. Chiwetel Ejiofor. See, they got the middle name in there, and I mean, as much as it would be obviously respectful to say the whole name, just from a professional usage standpoint, not really going to use it that much. So, I don't know, but yeah, but shout out, obviously a legendary guy. So he is the mob boss in this movie. I guess sort of the big bad. And this is a really great introduction scene. And again, Singleton just putting his sort of own unique different touches on some different characters that we've seen in the genre. Like the big mob boss at the table, sitting down, needing to sort of set the tone and humiliate one of the guys under him is, I feel like a scene that we've seen in just obviously a ton of different type of gangster / mob movies. But this is a fun touch on it where this is actually just like a really humiliating scene, and he throws the food on the ground. He makes the guy get on the ground and eat the food like the dog. He has, his lady go over there with him as well too. Like, it's right up there with Suge Knight, like just, shoving the food in the guy's face where he's like, "Were you stealing from me?" We might have to watch that scene as well too. I forget what he says, but that's a great scene. I just love he just like smothers the guy with, he's just gonna kill this guy with mashed potatoes. It's gonna be great. But yeah, outside of that, it's Chiwetel, our guy Chiwetel is throwing some French fries in the ground and telling this guy to lap it up like a dog. But Sofia Vergara she's definitely, she's out for one thing in this movie, Chad. It is what it is. When you're with Tyrese, you know, I think that may be just the case for anybody. But for Sofia Vergara in this movie, she is on a mission. So, you know, you gotta respect the hustle. There's two hustlers in this. There's two different hustlers in this movie. Sofia Vergara chasing down Tyrese, and the brothers chasing down the mom's killers. It is what it is. And I don't honestly know who is more successful at the end of the day. I feel like Sofia Vergara is successful multiple times throughout this movie before the guys are successful. You know, definitely once. But also, you know, before they are successful multiple times as well. So our guy, you know, Chiwetel, he's also going to be in American Gangster around this time as well too. So you kind of don't really think about the longevity of his career at this point as well. But I mean, like we're saying, he has been around. We've got, I guess, Love Actually 2003. She Hate Me. Okay, yeah, I was gonna say the Spike Lee movie in 2004. Four Brothers, like we're saying, 2005. Inside Man 2006. American Gangster 2007. And then I guess 2008 Red Belt Slapper. Endgame, not Avengers, in 2009. 2012 in 2009. Oh, the Cusack movie. Okay, so that's I feel like that's a good movie. The Cusack End of the World type movie. Salt in 2010. Angelina Jolie, Liev Schreiber. Whoa, Angelina Jolie plays a CIA operative, Evelyn Salt, who's accused of being a Russian sleeper agent. I'm in. Is it on Pluto? And then, you know, he has 12 Years a Slave in 2013. But this is, I mean, about as consistent of he's going to just be in a movie that you're going to be wanting to watch and hit that rewatchable levels. You know, basically every year to, you know, 2 out of every 3 out of every 4 years. The Martian in 2015, 999, you know, then he enters the Marvel Universe as, what's his name? In Mordor. That's right. Shout out, or Mordo? Shout out Mordo. Carl. I didn't realize Mordo's first name was Carl. I thought his name was literally just Mordo or something. Or Mordo was his first name. His name was like Mordo Galacticus or something like that. But no, he's just Carl Mordo. But you've got, I guess maybe this is honestly, I guess since then it's a little bit of a break. But he was, again, in Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness as well, too. But you've got him and Wahlberg in that Fuqua film, which I think just kind of got buried a little bit. Again, I haven't really seen that as well. The Old Guard. He is in that Bridget Jones, Mad About a Boy, Eleanor the Great, and The Old Guard 2 is what he has on the books for 2025. Nothing for 26, but Children of Blood and Bone in 2027 and in the Backrooms. I guess this is unannounced sort of project that he's working on here as well too. The TV stuff is all fine and well for sure, but he is, and again, did he get nominated for Best Lead for 12 Years? I know 12 Years got, you know, of course, a ton of different accolades. I don't remember exactly all of the separate categories that it did get nominated in, outside of course, the major sort of Best Picture ones, maybe a couple of technical ones as well too. Accolades, let's see. Best Picture, Screenplay, Supporting. Okay, earned 3 Academy Awards. So it won, of course, picture, I guess, adapted screenplay, and then Best Supporting Actress as well too. Oh wait, it did say there about our guy. Also received, the film won a BAFTA. Oh, he won a BAFTA. Shout out. So let's see here. For the Academy itself, Best Supporting. Yeah, he got a Best Actor nomination. So I guess we could have just looked up his own career accolades, because I'm going to have to do that next to see what the rest of them are. But I don't know if he's picked up a nomination actually as a supporting actor. He did. Oh, American Gangster, I would say. Not at the Academy, though. At the Academy, he got his one nomination is again for best lead. So it kind of puts him in a little bit of a interesting territory where, again, all of his best roles and just all the good movies that he's been in, of course, have been in sort of a supporting cast type way, where he can kind of come in and have these heat check type moments. But when you let him cook, like he did kind of get a title. I think getting a Best Actor nomination is kind of winning a title. I feel like grabbing a nomination is almost like winning a title. I think winning is maybe like winning a title MVP at that point, sort of that last extra level. But getting a nomination is like actually, I think, getting a title itself. So again, he does like lead a finals level team. It's just that in terms of the rewatchability of it in the movies that I think the screen time wise, like how is he spending time on our TV screens? It's not really in that best actor type way. It's in the best supporting actor type way. And again, he is really good at it. And like you see the other, across other various different award shows, he's been nominated for all kinds of other roles as well too. Including, specifically various different supporting roles as well too. Did I say specifically variously? I don't know. But, the 07 American Gangster nomination is pretty solid because he's really good in that movie as well too. And again, as an ensemble cast, like he's one of the more sort of actory, he's just given a little bit more to do in that movie. But yeah, it's just a sort of iconic kind of underrated guy because I think he's not necessarily put in the wrong tier. I just think that he is kind of compared in a way to maybe, again, like speaking of American Gangster, you think about him and like maybe Denzel, would they be like going for, the same parts, or him and Sterling K. Brown going for the same parts. But I would say that, and maybe Sterling K. Brown would be a guy that could have like a Chiwetel type career, but I feel because he does gravitate more to the TV shows, and that could just be the move for obviously 2025, just being smart there. But in movies, maybe it still needs like a, speaking, I guess we don't really have like a Denzel, but maybe it would be like, again, like him and Michael B in a movie or something like that, or just who's even a bigger star, because Sterling K is a pretty big star as well too. So he could carry a movie from a name standpoint as well. Sterling K, he needs Tyrese to help him up the star value of the movie, I guess. But yeah, our guy, he is throwing heat in this movie. I guess he didn't snag any nominations for it, but I'm kind of surprised, to be honest. Like, he couldn't get one nomination for this. Like, he is really going crazy in this movie. And speaking of Denzel, like, I feel like he is going a little Denzel in, there's like some Training Day Denzel stuff in this, but also from a sort of head of the table type standpoint, where again, Denzel is definitely sort of the cool guy, or I guess Alonzo, definitely sort of the cool guy, hands and everything in the neighborhood, definitely controlling a lot of the stuff that's going on. But again, it's not necessarily like a kingpin in that type of way. And at the end of the day, the Russians, or he's indebted to the Russians, and the Russians are having to take him out. So, as this guy is like a head of the table kingpin, kind of runs the cities in his pocket type of ordeal, he is bringing a lot of that same type of energy to that type of role. And this is kind of a crazy scene as well too. We've got Wahlberg, just taking a dump while Garrett Hedlund's in the shower, and then in the same bathroom, a one bathroom house, I guess. And then shout out, we've all been there, chat. But we've got the Garrett Hedlund shower, the Mark Wahlberg dump, and then Tyrese walks in to have them both check out whether or not Sofia Vergara gave him a little STD while he was having some activities. So just a lot going on in that scene. I don't know again how much plot is necessarily driven through there, but we do get some updates on, I think, what we're discovering with Andre 3K's character, and that is maybe there is a little bit more than meets the eye when it comes to some of his business dealings. But here, let's double check on who is, and I guess I'm just saying Andre. We're talking about this movie, but I think you guys understand that. Andre 3K's shady business dealings we're calling him out right now. BETSTAMP Pod investigates. What are we? Pablo Dory chat. But let's see here. We need to actually see who this guy's name is. This supporting character lawyer. Oh, and what's the name of the councilman as well, too? I know this guy, you know, he's been an iconic been around guy as well. But I'm not going to get everybody's name here as we're going. So let's just get the cast pulled back up and see who it was. Councilman Douglas. Barry Henley is Councilman Douglas. Shout out. The lawyer, let's see, what's the lawyer's name? Not Jack Mercer, obviously. Oh, here we go. Kenneth Welsh. Kenneth Welsh. We don't have a picture on the old Wikipedia page for Kenneth Welsh, unfortunately. Shout out. Oh, Chad, R.I.P. 2022. Oh, no, that's so unfortunate. That's the second time this has happened today. I was thinking about Larry Allen, and I was like, wait a second, is Larry Allen still with us? And I looked him up on the Wikipedia page, and I was like, oh, 2024, R.I.P. Chat. Hey, yo. So, Kenneth Walsh, 2022, you know, went to go be with the good ones, chat. 80 years old, lived a great life in the theater. 4-time Genie Award nominee, winning Best Supporting Actor for performance in Margaret's Museum. Best Actor nod for Reno and the Doc, and Loyalties as well. Also won 4 Gemini Awards and was nominated for a Daytime Emmy. So he won a Gemini and a Genie Award. I mean, you know, he's absolutely cleaning up, chat. But you see the work as well, too, between all of the different venues, the stage, the film, the TV as well, going back to 60, mainly it's in the 70s is when, I guess, you know, mainly in the 80s is when he starts to get his roles. Double Negative in 1980 of unknown origin, 1983. What's this one, Chad? American film debut by George P. Costomos. Do we put this one on the watch list? I don't know. Peter Weller, Jennifer Dale, Lawrence Dane, and our guy Kenneth Walsh. Maybe. But maybe it took him a while to get going. I guess he did get his Genie role for a Genie Award for Reno and the Doc. In Loyalties, 1986. Oh, there we go. There's a young, strapping Kenneth Walsh in the background right there. I guess I don't know necessarily what his role is in this film, so I don't know how strapping he is in that film. But from a poster standpoint, looking like I said, Crocodile Dundee 2 in 1988. So there we go, chat. Finally, his big breakout role, 1988. Crocodile Dundee 2. Before Time Cop in 1994. And then, what do we got? The Aviator in 2004. The Four Brothers. The Covenant in 2006. Fantastic Four, Rise of the Silver Surfer. Dr. Jeff Wagner in 2007. So, I mean, you know, bit part legend. Survival of the Dead 2009. I don't know, what do we got there, chat? That sounds like a fun one. Oh, maybe not. We got a little horror movie. Zombie situation. Okay, maybe it does. Who knows? It is the 6th entry in Romero's Night of the Living Dead series. Oh, okay. Shout out. Makes sense. Wet Bum. 2014. A Ballad of Immortal Joe. You know, I guess never really got into sort of the Oscar-y epic type movie, unfortunately. So Four Brothers might be like a top 4 movie. You know, speaking of Four Brothers, top 4 Kenneth Welsh movies. We've got The Aviator. Oh, The Day After Tomorrow. Okay, so you know, and Miracle. You know, we're not giving his credit here. Focus in 2001. So we've got Four Brothers, Miracle, The Aviator, and what was the other one? Chat. Time Cop as his best movies ever. Crocodile Dundee 2. So he is, you know, had a long and awesome career, and in the theater as well too. I mean, you love a guy that can act and play the theater, and do kind of the little, you know, comedic twitches stuff that he does when he's being dragged out of the car by Wahlberg. It's really great. But then they see, of course, Andre 3K and one of the henchmen guys doing business. So that's always a little sketchy. Got to go press the henchman in a bowling alley. I don't know if Andre 3K necessarily meets him in a bowling alley. It's a little public. You definitely get that to your benefit in some ways, but also with just the way that everything's going right now with a couple of murders, they're being maybe investigated. They're part of an investigation. Like, you would just think that maybe he would need to be a little bit more careful with meeting in public with some known gangster associates. But Councilman Douglas now pulling up to meet with our guy. And what's his name as the bad guy in this movie? Hey, yo. Now I'm blanking. I guess. Oh, Victor Sweet. Yeah, it's right there. Shout out to Victor Sweet. So, here. What is Barry Henley's IMDb? Another legend, chat. Iconic face as well, too. Michael Mann. A Michael Mann stud. What's Love Got to Do with It? Devil in a Blue Dress. Fallen in 1998. Life, Ali, Four Brothers, Miami Vice. What do we got? Maybe after there, Carrie in 2013, I guess. But Dolomite in 2019. A Star Is Born in 2018. So shout out Barry Henley. Barry Henley's still with us. I was gonna say he hasn't logged credit since 2019, so maybe he's retired, chat. I don't know if he's moved to TV here. A little bit of a recurring role in Forever as George. Shout out. One episode of Judge Horton Homie in Black Jesus, I guess, and then a couple other TV show runs. But yeah, a good IMDb. I mean, speaking of bit part guys. Great bit part guy. Oh, he's in Rush Hour as well, too. I knew I just saw his face recently. Of course, Rush Hour, it's on TVs, or it's on Netflix. It's on the TVs, chat. It's just what it is. I don't know if it's a rule in the studio, but it just maybe is an unwritten one. And How Stella Got Her Groove Back is right there as well, too. Because, I mean, what a 98 for our guy. Fallen, Bulworth. We've got How Stella Got Her Groove Back, Rush Hour, and Patch Adams. I mean, he's working with stars. He's in classics. He's in rewatchables. I mean, you got Angela Bassett, Denzel, Robin Williams, Jackie Chan, and Chris Tucker, all in the different sets that you're a part of in 1998 is pretty crazy. And like we're saying, working with Denzel in Devil in a Blue Dress as well too. 95. What's Love Got to Do with It? 1993. So this is about as fun of a rewatchable IMDb as you're gonna get from a bit part guy. Shout out to Barry Henley. He is definitely the man, chat. It is what it is. But they got Taraji P listed over Barry Henley, and make no mistake, Barry Henley maybe in a couple more scenes than Taraji P. I guess I don't know if Taraji P actually logs more time than Barry Henley, but Barry Henley as the corrupt councilman still feels like he's a little bit more pivotal to what's going on here. So we've got the brothers now tracking, of course, their own brother, because Andre 3K is untrustworthy. Tyrese is off on one mission. Mark Wahlberg is on another mission. So let's take a quick break, chat, and then we'll be back up to finish this movie. We got to pause, and then we will be back. Four Brothers, chat. The rewatch continues right after this. Okay, chat, we're back, and we can't miss this because now the brothers have decided to confront Andre 3K about his mischievous goings on. Why is he messing with the gangsters? What's going on with the money? How come he's benefiting from the insurance, which is, of course, again, directly sketchy. It's like, wait a second, mom dies and you're benefiting from insurance, but again, the number that they're chasing, about $400,000. So I mean, as much as that would be, obviously a paycheck that a lot of people would think to have would be nice, I don't think it's a kill a family member territory over 400K. I feel like that's more of a, this wealthy person like wanted to access their multi-million-dollar trust fund, so they sort of killed like the old grandparent early. Like that seems to be sort of the storyline that would make more sense, not, Andre 3K a little bit desperate for some gambling debts is, whacks his mom over 400K. It's like, hey, I don't know the motives there, or necessarily they run far enough. As Andre 3K jumping the gun a little bit in the planning, but of course, as he lays out, that is not the case whatsoever, and results in what ends up being a really greatly acted Andre 3K scene here as well too. So immediately pivots into what will turn into the next action scene here as Garrett Hedlund chases this random kid down the street with a snowball who just randomly just showed up to the door and was just like, I'm just going to start calling out random stuff. So turns, we get him shooting, of course, Garrett Hedlund in what looks like kind of the upper shoulder chest area. Hedlund turns to run, but the semi-auto to the right up the back, probably not going to help as well too. And this is where Hedlund taps into the, if we're going to give an Oscar to anybody in this movie, it might be to Hedlund in this scene for the way that he just reacts to getting shot / in pain / calling out to the brothers. It's some top level stuff. It is, again, there's a lightness to the movie. We've got what's about to be a pretty intense kind of heavy scene here. Again, the movie is called Four Brothers, so there is a risk of that, being in jeopardy. But Hedlund's almost so intensely acting here that it does, again, like the way Wahlberg is just so crazily crying in some of these scenes. It does kind of make you still kind of keep you in the again, lightness is not the right term, but just sort of the fast-paced thrilleriness of the movie, as with the action moviness of the movie, I should say, not necessarily the thrilleriness of it. But you get a fun shootout scene, and again, just quick, different versions of action scenes that you see Singleton pulling in here as well too, where you kind of get a Wahlberg being a tough guy scene, throughout with the, storming the drug house, storming the basketball court. We got the car chase. We get a shootout like this as well. So a lot of different varieties, a lot of different, again, just some different genre stuff in the movie itself with the action, with the family element early on. And yeah, again, Andre 3K stepping up to the plate, taking out one of the attackers with the kitchen knife as they enter into the home. Uh-oh, chat. Hedlund is not looking good right now. But like we said, Andre 3K in the scene before this having to sort of defend his actions and, laying out the fact that, hey, I was the one that was responsible for that had the financial responsibility of taking care of mom and was helping with the debts and the different things like that. So, grounds his actions, of course, a little bit. But is a scene where he's definitely given it a little bit something. There's some good, again, some good weight and some good motivation in that scene. And he does just carry that very, very well. And I almost think you could make a case in a way that he is the best actor in this movie. Like, I don't know if you would say, again, I don't know if you're giving out Oscars to any of the actors in this movie, but there is a subtlety to his part at times where, again, he's the family guy. He's sort of supposedly on the front, the successful one of the family. So there is the reservedness to him there, but he does have the ability to kind of pour his emotions into a little bit of a scene like that as well too, which again, they don't really entrust anybody else to, to do, but the fact that they had these three, like they could have, I guess, casted maybe a more of a real actor in that spot, and they could have said, hey, this is a guy that's going to have to give us a couple scenes. Maybe, again, maybe it's a little lighter of a work day. It's not the second lead in the movie. You know, we got Andre 3K runtime playing a little bit farther down. Oh, Headland. See, like, this is a tough scene. You know, Headland's bleeding. It's kind of tough to watch, but he's just so intensely with the facial expressions, and it's just there's a lot going on. Shout out our guy. But and again, R.I.P. The movie is Four Brothers. You would kind of expect it to carry that out through the whole movie, but unfortunately we don't get that. And the youngest one as well too is a little bit of a brutal move, and they don't go into, I guess I haven't seen like deleted scenes of this movie or anything. It's a good tight movie, and it really moves well. Check it off, chat. Mark Wahlberg's third crying scene of the day. He cuts this one off really short, but again, they don't really like lay out his traumatized past. We do get the scene where the mom is in sort of her Jedi ghost state, talking to Garrett Hedlund's character and being like, hey, I know you had tough times in the past. So there may be something sort of connected with that, and him being like, oh, is he like setting up sort of his character death a little bit later on? I'd say like, oh, he had it coming. But, sometimes those type of characters are just like, let's just put him out of his misery and send him off in this movie. But they don't really, again, like address his character storylines in that type of ways. I don't know if there's undercut stuff. There's stuff left on the cutting room floor there, but it is, of course, a little bit of a tough death scene to have that happen there. And, maybe does solve. I mean, you kill off the mom early in the movie. You get a revenge thriller on the mom. There's really no stakes. At this point, nobody's really safe, but you don't expect this to be Four Brothers -1. So I guess that does beg the question of what is Five Brothers at that point, because again, they're down to three brothers in this movie. So like I was saying, I was reading on the Wikipedia page is a little part about talks of, like I was saying, a movie called Five Brothers. So they need two replacement brothers. Like, I guess you wouldn't call it Four Brothers 2. But you could maybe do the reverse naming. So Four Brothers is actually the first one, and Three Brothers is actually the second one. You have like Singleton with like a Star Wars franchise type thing. Like 4 is actually the first one, and 3 is actually the fourth one, and 2 is actually the sixth one, and who knows what the actual order is. But it's like, okay, Four Brothers is the first. That's actually kind of a depressing franchise. It's Four Brothers, Three Brothers. The third movie's Two Brothers, and then that leads us right into Lone Survivor 2000 and whatever, Mark Wahlberg, and that's actually the fourth movie in the Four Brothers installment. Is Mark Wahlberg goes overseas, and now he's the last one left. But I guess I don't know what the way to name this all out is. So this is where, again, speaking of the movie moving quickly, now we've got Terrence Howard addressing his I guess at this point we've uncovered that his partner is a dirty cop. He is a little bit corrupt, working for Victor Sweet. And like I was saying, I guess that scene earlier with them in the house, maybe setting him up as a little bit of a sketchy character, kind of makes this reveal make a little bit more sense. And like, okay, it's not just this random, okay, now all of a sudden this guy's bad too. But yeah, you do of course have the dirty sidekick cop that is involved. Unsurprisingly, Victor Sweet, a powerful man like he is. I mean, where are you gonna extend your corruption into, chat? Ayo, the police force. It's just what it is. Like, let me get those guys in my pocketbook. So you got a good pool scene. I mean, shout out to Singleton. I don't know if that's a must for an action movie, but it does feel like a good confrontation in a pool scene is definitely something that usually works as well too. And you have the pool cue accessible for some kind of confrontation as well, but it is one of those good kind of display of skills and a good sort of standoff, and you can have the guys kind of going back and forth. And again, maybe not even action movie, like maybe it's like you can get like an indecent proposal type scene where you just got some dialogue, guys are talking about life and like talking about philosophy, or you just get some kind of interaction where Terrence Howard's just gonna beat his, you know, dirty cop partner with a pool cue, which I guess I don't, you know, I'm of course always a couple of minutes ahead. It's like, I mean, that's what it is. It's like, why did this consequence? Why would he have this action, you know, resulting in this consequence? But as we see right here, you know, his name is Fowler, I guess, the dirty cop. We got Fowler, unfortunately now gunning down Terrence Howard. So 2 scenes back to back, we lose Garrett Hedlund and Terrence Howard. The budget was running out for this movie. Like we got no more minutes left for Terrence Howard and Garrett Hedlund. We got to cut this back down to, 3 people and whoever else. But yeah, Terrence Howard, R.I.P., did not make it out the scene. So a little bit, again, of a head-scratching move to go into the place where, like he says earlier, he's in one of Victor Sweet's places. So not only is the building itself a little bit of a sketchy place to maybe confront this guy at, but this block, this neighborhood is probably, again, just probably locked down by Victor Sweet. He's got this one building in this block? Probably not. So maybe you want to confront this guy outside of his home, defense territory. It's probably why he's hanging out there. But also, if you're going to confront this guy, just arrest him. Like you have a pretty good case that he's withholding evidence from a type of thing. Like maybe you don't even, I guess the arresting maybe doesn't even hold, do you book him overnight? I don't know what necessarily, you can do there. But I feel like you can't just walk away from that situation where you're like, okay, I've told you that I know that you're dealing in corruption. I've hit you with a pool cue, and I'm just going to walk out to my car. Like, he's probably going to result in, you getting double, a couple of bullets to the sternum and one to the skull. It's just what's going to happen. You've got to take care of that threat right there outside of just announcing the fact that you know the presence. So, Terrence Howard, like we're saying, throughout this movie, I don't know if it's Terrence Howard's fault or the writer's fault, but not given much to do and just not a lot of police work, not really accomplished as much in this movie, but is a good name to, I guess, have on the cast at the time. So, R.I.P. to his character, I guess. I don't even remember his character name at this point, but did not really get a lot solved. So we don't really know who is on the case at this point as well, because again, his partner is corrupt. So it's not like he's going to necessarily be continuing the investigation. I mean, we know that, of course, the Mercers are on the case. But from the actual Detroit police standpoint, we don't actually know who is on the actual case. Maybe there's like an Axel Foley, grandkid situation. Or actually, Detroit, I guess Detroit 4. What's it called? Beverly Hills Cop 4? Detroit Cop 4 is probably a different type of movie. But Beverly Hills Cop 4 was, is set 2 decades later. So we know that Axel Foley still might be around at this time. Maybe you get him on the case as well. Axel Foley showing up, Andre 3K. Little Axel Foley, Andre 3K scene would be kind of fun. But that might take a second. He's probably working on some other investigations. So it might take him a second to actually get worked around to this case. But yeah, this is where, again, Andre 3K maybe starts to take a little bit more suspense in the movie. And like I was saying earlier as well, too, I guess this could have been the part where maybe you could have gone a little bit more reliable with the actor, but he is really good there. And at this time as well, too, a fun, I don't know who else from a rapper standpoint is necessarily like acting that good in that scene as well. Like you could, I guess, have Eminem maybe in that scene as well. Are we recasting Garrett Hedlund or Mark Wahlberg at that point? I don't know. Maybe Hedlund gets recast as well. Or, we're recasting, I guess, Andre 3K is Eminem, and then, Garrett Hedlund is somebody else. Maybe Garrett Hedlund is, we're bringing an Ice Cube. Or maybe I don't know if we bring an Ice Cube for that type of scene, necessarily. But, I think Andre 3K, I think he could have a little bit more of an acting career than maybe he's pursued. And especially, like, some cameo TV stuff as well. I mean, obviously, there's definitely a lane for him there. So you got him at least trying it out with this and Idlewild in a major kind of movie way. Taraji P, shout out, just showing up. Just Andre 3K gets to act and he's like, okay, who do you want to just kiss goodbye, I guess, in this scene? because again, she's not really in a ton of other scenes outside of she did, Andre 3K gets to shout out, hang out with Taraji P for a little bit. Obviously the biggest shout out goes to, well, I guess I don't know the biggest shout out. Just Tyrese just gets more scenes, I guess, with Sofia Vergara. But that is a fun movie couple as well too. That again is sort of a bit couple, not necessarily a flushed out relationship in the movie, but that could have been its own rom-com couple in a way. And I can't say it's it's not necessarily the best Singleton couple or even the best, I guess, maybe even Singleton couple with Tyrese, because I guess Tyrese was also in a movie with Taraji. But it's just a fun pairing that they're both, and Taraji, again, probably a better actor capable of more scenes than Sofia Vergara, but you just imagine the fun energy that she could bring to a movie with Tyrese's kind of corniness and the way he can kind of deliver some scenes. Like that could be a really fun movie. I don't know. Maybe Four Brothers is maybe Sofia Vergara is the fifth brother. I don't know how we make I'm not getting political here. I'm just saying that maybe we're just loosely kind of making the title work. But shout out, we've got the Tyrese, of course, has now infiltrated the house of Fowler. The old plastic bag over the head technique. I don't know, I guess, how he loses this position as well, too. We'll have to watch the tape and remember that. But Fowler does end up getting in a little bit of a winning spot in a little bit here. But for now, our guy Tyrese is in lead. So, Tyrese, again, a fun run with Singleton as well. I don't know where we'd rank him in the Singleton guys, but he is up there. And again, him and Baby Boy is iconic, and him in Too Fast, Too Furious is great as well too. It's the introduction for him in the franchise. Like, it's enough. He's great enough in that movie that it's like, okay, when we need to take the franchise to another level and expand the team, like, he is a real addition to the team and as a guy that needs to be in the franchise in a major way. So, again, Singleton not just got a good casting for his type of movies, but also, in addition to the just whole of their franchise in this way. But I actually kind of like that he got the movie without Vin Diesel as well, too, because in a way it does feel like, just in theory, like a Paul Walker, Tyrese Gibson movie. Again, just that sounds more like a Singleton movie, a Singleton cast, than Vin Diesel, Paul Walker, Tyrese, those type of guys. I don't know, just Vin Diesel in the Singleton world is a little bit, not to say that, there's not a role for him, and Singleton or whatever couldn't craft that or direct a movie that stars Vin Diesel. But I just think those characters make a little bit more sense, and is, of course, a really fun, sort of different movie from the Fast and Furious movies. Because while you get to the 5, 6, 7 run, and they are really great action movies, they are sort of that 2010s type of vibe, which, like I've said time and time again, is right up there. Like, the feel of those 2010s action movies are some of the best. But they do kind of hit that, they do kind of find their stride in that way later on in the franchise, and just Too Fast, Too Furious sticks out as kind of a unique movie style in the mix there. So we get another kind of fun snow scene as well too, and you wonder what I guess the Fast and Furious kind of borrow from Singleton in a way, because we get the snow scene a little bit later in the franchise in Fast 8. I guess I don't know the history of like a snow salt flat scene in movies where we got that. Like, did Alfred Hitchcock have that in one of his movies that I'm not thinking of at some point? I just watched North by Northwest, so I don't think there was one in that. I probably just totally missed it. But there is is there like a them on a mountain at the end of that movie? But yeah, I don't think there's like a them on the salt flats situation. So yeah, anytime you got like SUVs or just a convoy of cars out in kind of an open space like that, it totally works. You got the random sort of set up in the middle of nowhere. I don't know how you program the GPS to find this type of thing. It's not like they were following the pre-made tire tread marks out there. So somehow you just, randomly drive up to the right spot. But preset, ready to go. ready to get business deals done. I guess I, even forgot, our guy, Victor Sweet's only in like 2 scenes, but he's just very dominant in those 2 scenes. So throwing heat, shout out our guy, of course, making a impact. You've got chainsaws on the ice. Hey, yo, chat. It's again, Singleton. He's just got a bunch of fun, different beats for this movie, and while again, there, I guess even some of the plot stuff, like the plot stuff, is all kind of set early on. Like you don't really even need. What kind of plot points do you need? You start to again unveil some stuff here with Andre 3K, like having some failed business schemes, with Victor Sweet again kind of having his hands in pockets, and the corruption that's being unveiled there, and trying to stop him. But for the most part, again, you can kind of strip everything back to the fact that at the end of the day, they're just trying to find out who is all behind the fact that they killed, their mom. And that's like the John Wick franchise. What's so great about that franchise is the premise of the movies is just incredibly simple. And especially the first couple of movies. Now, you do start to get to 3 and 4, and I think, like 3 and 4 are great watches, but I couldn't necessarily tell you like what those movies are about in the same type of way that you can about 1 and 2. It's like, yeah, what's John Wick about? Oh, some guy, his wife dies. His wife got him a dog before she dies. They kill the dog, and he's avenging the death of his wife, on the earth through the death of this dog. And, in number 2, he's avenging his car, I guess, in the second one. But, it's like, okay, it's very simple what the plan is there, and he's just executing that through the course of this movies. And that is what Singleton is accomplishing here. And how it works with those type of movies, again, John Wick, is the scenes mixed in that are great. And you have, of course, obviously, but the different fighting scenes and the different set pieces are not big plot point pieces. It's just these are unique, fun pieces, different ways to set it up. Or in John Wick's case, some of the most well choreographed, well executed fight scenes that we've seen. And then in the second one, the first one you get very, the nightclub and all the different stuff is fun. The second one, I think, in the catacombs, and you start to get more expansive sets and stuff as you go out to the franchise, of course. But again, in this one, just all kinds of different types of action scenes and all kinds of different fun set pieces, and utilizing his location to the best of his advantage. And now we're kind of out in the Great Lakes, I'm guessing, or some situation like that. Ice and like we're saying, the big snow flats, and we're digging in. There's a place where you can we can hide a body in the water over here. Maybe there's like a fire off to the side on the ice kind of setup. So Singleton is always fun and creative. But like we're saying, also one of the few movies that he did not write as well too. So I imagine that at some point, he's cleaning up a script to best fit kind of his pace of a movie. And you can always, like we're saying, in the executive producing movies or in the directing movies, you can always kind of feel the John Singleton hand at work in his projects. But again, he's not necessarily responsible for the exact writing of this movie. So his ability to just set the movie in these fun places and make sure the movie is well crafted around these different pieces is, again, what is so fun about Four Brothers, and what makes it a good watch. A good, nice, quick moving script with a bunch of fun different scenes that take you across a bunch of, like we're saying, a bunch of these different action movies, and good performances as well too, from the villain and from the main cast. And a unique cast, again, you don't necessarily get Andre 3K in a lot of movies, and I know that's not necessarily something you want with all the movies. It's like, oh, all of our actors are in 2 movies. But you do have, again, a limited amount of places to have Andre 3K on your screen in this type of way. So this is a good one to have him on in the background. Like we're saying, Wahlberg as well too. Probably I don't know, is this a top 5 Wahlberg? Because again, he does have the early career sort of, like with Boogie Nights, he gets the sort of acclaim of that film, and with The Departed as well too. But at Departed, he is he's off the police force like halfway through that movie, and then is sort of supposed to be the mystery guy, or what, the guy that's just sort of forgotten, kind of reintroduced at the end, and you're like, oh yeah, Wahlberg, he's back, and then he makes the big final play. But in terms of him carrying a movie, like, this is right up there as well too. An action movie, which again I think is where Wahlberg is at his best. Now, the comedy stuff, I think the Ted thing might have. Do we have to go back and look? Because the Ted thing might have like sent him down the wrong direction, because he was so successful with the Ted franchise, and the Ted movies are funny, But I don't even think that's really a Wahlberg thing. I think that's more a McFarlane thing, as well too. Again, shout out to Wahlberg, like, he is really great in those. But I think it's sort of what McFarlane is bringing to the table that is special about the comedy of those movies. But if it was the success of those movies, it's like, that's kind of the lane that I'm going to start to work in the family stuff as well too. I don't know, the box office success of some of that stuff maybe is what is tempting as well too. But just him in this role, being crazy, having, shooting people up, doing action stuff, is him at his best. And while from a stunt standpoint, I guess he's not necessarily like doing a ton of stunts, again, he is really fun and crazy with the lines in this movie, and right up there with just some of his best lines and just craziest things he's saying in any role. So this again is sort of the our guy Chiwetel kind of doing the Alonzo Denzel thing here at the end. He's got the final fight set up. Andre 3K has revealed that they are using the $400K to pay his henchmen. So, kind of a good plan. Like, hey, we'll pay the henchmen to turn on you, I guess. Which, I don't know, maybe, I don't know if Victor Sweet just steps up and goes, okay, well, I'll just pay you guys more to just turn back. And, they didn't necessarily think that one through. But it's not what happens. So, fortunately, he decides to fight it out. And we get, again, sort of a King Kong, you don't got anything on me situation. I forget what his sort of big line is. He's, really going for it. But we get him and Mark Wahlberg, jackets off, just a couple guys in some sweaters, some turtlenecks, some beanies, gonna fight it out on the ice. Again, a good hand-to-hand combat on the ice. We haven't really, this is just not a scene that's in a ton of movies. Jackets are off. So again, just a clear lack of cold and, I don't know, just the nose, sort of lips, and but the purple situation where it's like, okay, what's going on here? Like, Wahlberg's face should just be totally frostbitten up at this point, probably. But, he grew up in, I guess, the Detroit scene in this movie, so he's probably accustomed to some. And I guess Wahlberg in general is what's, Boston guy. A little cold never bothered him. But classic sort of start, turn, start in favor of the good guy, turn for the bad guy. Now we're kind of going back and forth. Ejiofor with the back. He's got Wahlberg's back. He's got him in the choke. Hey, yo, the elbow. I mean, I feel like that move is undefeated for the hero. The elbow to the villain as he's behind him. The villain trying to get him in the chokehold. So I gotta say, again, Victor Sweet starts off good. And maybe Victor Sweet, his moving is more in the maneuvering, and maybe he's got a weapon on him at times, just sort of the chaos ability to take anybody out anywhere, but doesn't really last a long time in this fight. And when he goes down, goes down pretty cold as well too. Like, he's out. 10 count is not even close. They're literally limp as they're carrying him into the pool that they've made, which, we thought maybe they were going to throw Andre 3K in there, but no, turns out it's Victor Sweet's body. So, again, the Mercers are, they actually get revenge in this movie. There's no, like, hey, we'll just, like, let Victor Sweet go to jail and let the justice system take care of it. Singleton's like, no, actually, I don't think that's how we'll make this work. We will just, maybe, I don't know if that was in the rewrite. That was one of the Singleton touches. He's like, actually, they'll just get revenge and just kill everybody in this movie. We don't want, the cops aren't going to take care of this. But that is, a fun sort of kind of realistic thing. It's like, yeah, you would probably just take care of business as well, too, especially if Terrence Howard was, making exceptions for you. So, again, you take him to the cops now. No Terrence Howard to have your back. You're going to get some questioning. And the questioning is intense. Like, I'm assuming that this is not happened. But a lot of times it is, again, maybe like a verbal sort of confrontation or the lights and the intimidation. But outside of Batman and the Joker, like there aren't a lot of just the cops just straight up beating up the guys in the interrogation. Again, if the cop violence probably going to take place elsewhere, but in the interrogation room itself, I feel like a lot of times it's more, again, the verbal sort of mental assault than it is just like, okay, we're just going to straight up just beat up Mark Wahlberg and Tyrese to try to get him to answer these questions. But turns out, of course, they all have the same lines. Nobody's wife is safe with the Mercers around. It's just what it is. But I think actually if they were like, saw that Tyrese was leaving the police station with Sofia Vergara, you were like, oh yeah, he probably actually maybe was not with my wife the other night. He might have just been with Sofia Vergara. But you never know, he's a guy that is moving and shaking. So, they get the revenge chat. They get to, I guess, the police don't have enough evidence, of course. And to be honest, like, again, why are the police like that really upset that these guys took out Victor Sweet? I guess, again, to clean up the fact that they just killed a guy. But does not, and maybe Victor Sweet probably pretty profitable to some of the police officers in the station at this time. It is what it is. But also, if the corruption and the criminal activity runs that deep, they might not necessarily have been like, hey, we'll just kind of look the other way on this one, and the streets will get their revenge. The street justice for the Mercers will be fine. Because again, we already saw one retaliation for them taking out the contract killers, which was another kind of, I don't want to say weak point of the movie, but Victor Sweet requests out-of-town killers. So the reason that they killed the mom, we should say as well too, to clarify that plot point, is because Victor Sweet was making business difficult for Andre 3K's character. The mom was starting to collect some evidence and go to the police and start to try to undermine Victor Sweet's criminal activities because, if she could get Victor Sweet kind of neutralized, then that would open up the path for her son to have some business dealings. So again, the mom kind of a gangster herself, of course, but you get involved in the gang life, and unfortunately the mom found out that it's gonna have its consequences. So she gets taken out in a drugstore, and the kids have to get the revenge. But again, Victor Sweet probably you probably just go, hey, we'll just self-defense or whatever they say earlier on in the movie. But you get Wahlberg back fixing up the house, of course, the family house. Wahlberg, no barbecue scene at the end, but Wahlberg with sort of the Saw DIY house fixing setup is probably a fun, Boston contractor kind of move as well too. And Detroit, good Midwest guy's gonna be, fixing up his own house. That's for sure. But again, they get the out-of-town killers to get the mom to kind of, I guess, again, if you have the killers out of town, I guess it kind of takes it's just going to make the police, it's just going to difficult that police investigation, which again, I guess he probably could have just paid to have that go underway as well too. Maybe Victor Sweet not quite as rich as we thought, maybe really powerful, but the margins on the budget not too great, so really having to make some smart financial moves with where he's having his corruption in place. But because they got the in-town shooters, now the police are on them, and the Mercers are able to get the revenge and track them down. So he has to avenge the in-town shooters by taking out the Mercers. I guess, again, the Mercers just taking out people that are making your life difficult as well, too. But I don't know if the contract killers were necessarily attached to Victor Sweet's organization. I thought they were still separate of his organization, but just in town. So I don't necessarily know about that part as well, too. But regardless, it doesn't matter. Victor Sweet's, I guess gone, and unfortunately Garrett Hedlund and the mom are gone as well, too. But, Mark Wahlberg, Tyrese, and Andre 3K still stand. So 3 brothers left is not bad, I guess, for a John Singleton movie. Honestly, we'll take it. So shout out to Andre 3K, Tyrese, Mark Wahlberg, everybody involved. Of course, R.I.P. the legend John Singleton. We love anytime we get to celebrate a movie that he was involved in an anniversary way here on the REMINGTOM pod. And 20 years later, 4 brothers, still a lot of fun to go back and rewatch. So we will be back later this week, of course, Friday live stream. as always, chat, you can join us here on the YouTube. You can find the live streams up later as well, too, on the podcast platform, Spotify, Apple, all that different stuff. And you can message us at the Remington Pod on Instagram if you want to DM us over there. The DMs are open. Oh, what's this? The Lincoln Lawyer? Paramount Plus is up next. Marissa Tomei, Matthew McConaughey, 2011. The only genre, it says crime. Uh-oh, chat. We may have to end right now and go watch this one. Actually, there was another movie I thought I was going to watch tonight. But I guess I don't remember now. The Lincoln Lawyer is going to be the one. Hey, yo, Marissa Tomei, here we go. All right, chat. Whoa, pause. Hey, yo, we can't end on that. We got to just, like, say a couple more sentences. I don't know. Just respectfully, it is what it is. But, yeah, we'll be back Friday on the live stream. Join us, chat. We hope to see you there. Enjoy the rest of your night. Peace.